Alright, we should be live. Hello, hello everybody. Everybody's having a good whatever today is? Thursday? Alright, well, so today is not the usual topic. Usually we would be doing a different, like Thursday is kind of the miscellaneous topic day, but we didn't get any flat earthers, any genuine flat earthers on Monday. So we did have to change topic on Monday. So we're gonna test the waters again today. If nobody shows up, if we only get trolls again, then we will change the topic, and we might have to temporarily retire the flat earth topic, if only because, you know, they may have retreated back into their caves because they're afraid. Again, it's happened before. So, it is time to set out the fishing nets or something. Whatever the correct analogy is. Leave out the bait, something like that. Oh, what do I need to do? There's something that I needed to do. Cast the net. Chum the waters. There you go. There are fishing analogies. There are fishing analogies. They exist. I just don't know what they are. Hate the hooks, but don't hate the books. That's a good one. I like that a lot. I thought Shaq was just trolling it. Wait, is Shaq a flat earther now? Hold on. Shaq flat earth. One sec. One sec. We have to. He might be a flat earther. That's really disappointing. Such as, I don't know. He definitely knows a lot about the flat earth to say this. Apparently, in August of 2022, while on some podcast, he said that during a 20-hour flight, he didn't tip upside down or fly diagonally. So that means that he's at least looked into it. Now, it very well could be. Is that chalked apart yours? Yeah, it is. It very well could just be, like, no people who are flat earthers, and so he's doing a little bit of trolling, but I don't know. I like to think he's a troll. All right, we have our first guest. Let us bring them up. Up to David, One Piece lover. Oh, something's different. Hold on. David, what's up?
What's up?
There's just something weird on my end. You're fine. So, David, what shape do you think the Earth is?
A lot of people in social media, particularly in TikTok, are still flat earthers. I've debated a lot of flat earthers, so
okay,
they're not dead because I have debated a lot of them.
Okay, cool. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
This is all you have to talk about. You should really pivot your career. Lol, this is just sad. Bye. Well, it's not all I have to talk about, but it is definitely something that's fun to talk about. Maybe replace flat earth with moon landing denial. The thing about moon landing denial, like if somebody's going to come up and debate that the moon landing didn't happen, let me rephrase. If someone is a flat earther and I have the moon landing denial and I have the moon landing denial thing up, they will come up and debate that. However, so flat earthers will show up in either case, but the moon landing denial people, it's essentially like too small of a topic to grab anybody who's just a moon landing denier. There's just not a lot of people who are just moon landing deniers, right? Not sure if intentional, but not seeing YouTube, TikTok comments, and Twitch anymore. Yeah. So the comments those are only there for display during the ask during the like the Q&A live streams. There's just not enough room on the screen to see it on the debate live streams. Flat Earth and moon landing deniers usually go hand in hand. Not always. There are moon landing deniers who think that the Earth is round, but the point is it's such a narrow topic. It's just like specifically about like a series of events that took place between 1969 and 1972 that there's just not a lot of stuff to talk about unless you get really, really deep in the weeds, which I don't like doing. Onek, how's it going?
I'm gonna go to the bathroom.
Oh, okay, bye. Mods, ban them. Mods, you know what to do. So we're gonna give it probably say 15 minutes or so. But after that, we're probably gonna change topics. Hey doctor, I wanted to let you know I managed to get a postdoc position. Congrats, that's a big deal. I'm now a doctor as well, mathematics. Well, look at you, look at you. Look at you. Are there any flat earthers even today? Well, they do exist, but they might be hiding. And they probably are hiding because their flirf daddies have told them to, which is fair. Like if they're too afraid, if they can't defend their beliefs, then it would make sense that the people who they look up to would tell them not to go debate, because, you know, it makes the movement look bad, if you will. Ben the J. Oh, Ben the J's the mod. Okay, yeah. The mod who blocked the person. Okay, cool. Cool. Good job, everybody. Still wondering why flat earthers think the Earth is flat. Often it comes down to like religiosity. It also often comes down to just the way things look. All right, let's bring up King E. King E has. King E has going. We spoke recently.
You know, maybe not. I don't.
We definitely did. I remember talking to you. I remember your profile picture.
Oh, you remember me? I'm a very memorable. Are you a fan?
Yep, that's me. I'm a fan. King E, are you a flat earther?
Literally, you are. Yeah, 100%, 110%. Actually.
Oh, you're the guy who came up and was upset that I didn't debate Angels of Light, right? Even though I did debate him like a week or two ago.
All these people are afraid to debate me, and and I came up and I kind of told you straight up to your face. I'm like, yo, man, it's actually the 100% opposite, 180 flip that you.
Then where are all the flat earthers? Why are they being told by the kings of flat earth to not come up and debate, to not engage?
Many of the big flat earthers who know.
I have debated them.
Like, oh yeah,
I have debated them.
Every time you debate
every
for
time
about 10,
they
15 minutes.
Wait,
you start going on your big power skill.
You know the last time I debated Angels of Light, he was on for over an hour.
Right, and then what happened?
After over an hour? After over an hour?
Walk you without a leash?
No, not at all. Anyway, do you want to defend the flat earth, or you just come up to whine?
Yeah, I wanted to defend flat earth. I know that the government lies about pretty much everything, and that's just one aspect of the government, right?
Okay, but why do we have to rely on the government to know the shape of the earth?
Well, because they have all the answers.
No. You don't believe that. I don't believe that.
Well, they say that they have all the answers, and I don't believe that they have all the answers.
Okay, well, I don't believe that either.
Actually, the answers that they have,
I don't have to rely on the government
to manipulate the people. Okay?
So I don't rely on the government to know the shape of the earth. I don't think that you should either.
Okay, so what do you rely on to figure out the shape of the earth?
Observations of scientists.
Observation of scientists. Like, what's his name? Copernicus or whatever his name is?
Copernicus?
Yeah.
Do you mean Copernicus? No, I'm not referring to. I'm not referring to Copernicus.
Okay. So these ancient scientists that came out.
I'm not
back
referring
in the
to ancient
1600s.
Scientists.
What do you refer? Which modern scientists?
People who have lived in the last 100 years. A good example would be Compton.
Okay.
I think his first name is Edmund Compton.
You don't even know his first name? You think?
Well,
your number one
scientists are known by their last names. It's not my number one reference. It's just somebody that I think is probably respectable and is a scientist who lived in the last 100 years.
The first thing you came out of your mouth as that person. That's your number one reference.
So you didn't even know Copernicus's name, so I wouldn't get all high and mighty about me not remembering the first name of a scientist who goes by their last name. Anyway, so I think his first name is Compton, but we can look that up if you're interested.
Yeah, real quick.
If you want to know his first name, it was Arthur. not Edmund. So Arthur Compton. So
you
yeah,
were
Arthur Compton would be
100%.
an
You
example.
were 100% wrong. Okay.
About his first name?
As we knew.
Yep, I was
which you
wrong about his
usually
first
are
name.
100%
So,
wrong.
Arthur Compton is a good example of a scientist who, through his experimentation, through his scientific investigations, provided evidence that the Earth is a sphere. By the way, when you're off the app, I can't hear you. I know that you're probably screaming into the darkness right now, but nobody can hear you. Oh, he left. How embarrassing. Not even long enough for a YouTube clip. He couldn't even last long enough for a YouTube clip. Bummer. All right, let's bring up Bison, maybe is how you pronounce that name? Bison, how's it going?
Hello?
Bison.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Bison, what shape do you think the Earth is?
Yeah.
So, Bison, what shape do you think the Earth is?
I mean, currently, yeah. Yeah, can you hear me? I'm sorry, but maybe my
I can hear
internet is
you.
lagging a bit.
I can hear you just fine. I just want to know what shape you think the Earth is.
Yeah, no, Earth is round right now. But before I came alive, because my balls are so heavy and large, it just made the Earth round, you know?
Bison, it is a funny joke, but I hope that you recognize that for making that joke, you're going to get blocked.
It was flat before, but right now it's round.
You know what to do. It is a good joke. It's funny, it's original. But the rules are the rules. He's gonna get blocked. Was it worth it? Hope it was worth it. Voodoo Bin Warrior, how's it going? Voodoo?
What's up?
What shape do you think the Earth is?
So if you take the outer layer out, you know how a football is constructed? So you
It
could
seems like you're
possibly
not
argue,
answering my question.
I'm giving you a more detailed answer.
Well, do you think it's roughly spherical shape? Do you think it's roughly planar? Like what shape do you think
So
it is?
before a football is made or soccer ball is made, the piece of leather is flat. Right? You agree with that?
I don't know. I don't know how these balls are made.
So it's wrapped around.
It's irrelevant to me. What shape do you think the Earth is?
So it depends how you define the Earth.
The thing you're standing on.
Well, the thing I'm standing on, it has layers.
Okay. I'm asking you what shape is the thing that you're standing on?
So if you unpack the layers, you could possibly get a flat crust. Do you understand that or no?
It seems like you're just avoiding the question. Do you think that we
I'm
live
giving
on
you
a
a more-
ball?
Well, the ball has layers, right?
Do you think that we live on a ball?
Define the ball.
A
What is the
ball
ball
is a
made of?
specific shape? I don't care what it's made of. I'm just asking you about the shape.
Apparently it's round.
Okay. Let's talk to Fortnite Creeper Kitten. What a name. Fortnite Creeper Kitten. I can hear you, yeah. Well, at least I could.
Yeah.
Now I can't. Fortnite, how's it going?
It's going good. Hey, Blitz, I love you, man. I watch you all the time, bro.
I appreciate that, but it makes it sound like you aren't a flat earther.
I'm not. Please don't kick me. Give me 1 minute.
I love when they beg. Guy Jones, how's it going?
How you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Listen.
Guy Jones, what shape do you think the Earth is?
Please don't kick me. I think the Earth is round, but I just want to.
The power. All right. It seems like flat Earth is dead. We might have to retire the topic for at least a time. What we're going to do is we're going to do the MAGA topic for today. It seems like flat Earth is genuinely dead, so we're going to do the MAGA topic for a time anyway, and we'll see if we can get any bites there. 1, 2, 3. All right. I just got to change titles in a few places. Just that way then we get the correct title so people aren't confused by the live stream that they're watching. Oh, screaming about trans for the next couple hours. Fun. Well, hopefully they won't. Tell Blitz to set up a Venmo. Oh, hey Babs, do you have a Venmo? Do you have a Venmo, perchance? Can you pull up? So I think I did set up a Venmo. I'm just not sure what information it makes publicly available. So before I release that Venmo to the public, can you check it out? In the meantime, we do have a super chat from King Peanut with the $10. I wonder why Flurfs never say the Earth's an upside down plate shaped to argue against the curvature argument, because some upside down plates have a curve. Well, look, yeah, but the point is they still think it's like roughly plate shaped. So if you go to, I just have to, just gonna get this set up really quick. Yeah, so this is the @ in the top left. So if you can search that and see if there's any information there that's revealed. Please and thank you. Okay, all right, so we have officially changed topics for now at least. We're going to try to keep people from just screaming about trans people for 3 hours, but you know how it goes, sometimes that happens. And then we just, we do some educating. Just 15 minutes and that was it. Well, yeah, I mean, look, if no flat earthers are brave enough to come up within 15 minutes, I don't know what to tell you. All right, let's bring up minor threat. Minor threat, how is it going, my guy?
Good. The Earth is concave.
Okay, thanks for being here.
Inside out.
All right, let's talk to Paul. Paul. Oh, Paul's not here. Let's talk to Key Mud. Key Mud. Oh, I've spoken with Key Mud before. Let's see if Key Mud actually wants to come up and talk. Key Mud, you there?
Hello?
Oh, this is on my end. I can't hear you because okay, I should be able to hear you now. You're good.
All right, cool. So I think that the Earth is a superposition of flat and curved until you observe it.
Yeah, that's right. I do remember talking to you. It was a very dumb point. Let's see if Voodoo Bin Warrior is MAGA. All right, it looks like he's not here. So it seems like we can't get any bites on any topics today. Very unusual. We'll give it another few minutes. Do Christianity? Maybe I will. I always wondered what exactly is MAGA. I say this because not all Trump supporters claim MAGA. Yeah, so, I mean, we can identify MAGA by the people who self-identify as MAGA, right? Just like all movements. Of course it's anti-science, and none of them have the brain to cope with science. That's a fair point. Yeah, it seems like a cowardly thing to do is to not come up. Let's talk to Rosella. Rosella, how's it going?
Hi. Hi, I'm 20 for TikTok.
Okay, Rosella, are you MAGA?
I mean, I'm kind of agnostic. I mean, I see, like, you know, faults in both sides. I think both of them
You're
are equally
agnostic.
terrible.
So, just so you know, and just in case you didn't know, in politics we wouldn't say agnostic, you would say that you're centrist or perhaps moderate.
Yeah,
Agnostic isn't usually the word that's used. But look,
yeah,
the claim here...
Maybe, like, center-right.
So the claim here is that
politically.
MAGA is anti-science. If you want to make the claim that the left is also anti-science, you can do that. That's just not really the topic here. You know, does it, oh. Yeah, I don't know how I can not show that. Is that too much? I tried. Sorry, one sec.
No worries.
Okay. Sorry about that. Thank you. So, yeah, like I said, the claim here is that MAGA is anti-science, and if you want to make the claim that like the left is also anti-science or whatever, you could do that. But the topic here is specifically about MAGA, about this right-wing political movement that people self-identify as, that Trump is the leader of, that his cabinet is a part of. So, do you have any contentions with that?
I mean, I think that I probably would, right? 'Cause it seems like when we say MAGA, right, like we're talking about like a political idea, right? And those political ideas are mostly encompassing things such as like, economics, social issues, etc. And I'm like not really sure where like the science denying comes in to that, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Sure. By the way, can I ask where you're from?
It's half Scottish, half American.
Okay, I thought I detected a hint of Scottish. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I mean by anti-science is because political movements generally are not going to have direct positions on science specifically. They're not going to say like, we hate science and they're political, whatever. But the point is that we can evaluate the disposition towards science by examining the way that they behave. So I would say that a political movement is anti-science if it does two things. First, it systematically rejects or delegitimizes scientific consensus when that scientific consensus is politically inconvenient. And two, it systematically undermines the institutions that produces that scientific consensus that's politically inconvenient. So, I mean, like, everybody's going to accept science that agrees with them politically, right? Like, that's no issue. Everybody does that. You can be anti-science and still do that, in the same way that you can be racist and still like the black guy who thinks that other black people are bad, right? The point is being anti-science means that you are only willing to accept the science when it agrees with what you already believe. And so I think that we can
bias.
basically. And so I think that we can just look at what the MAGA movement does, the actions of the leaders of the MAGA movement, like Trump and his cabinet do. And we can also look at demographic data and polling data regarding the people who self-identify as MAGA and see how they compare with the rest of the population of the United States. And when you do that, you come to the inevitable conclusion that indeed this MAGA movement is anti-science.
Okay, can you give me an example of this?
Yeah, sure. So, and this is one that's fairly recent. So, the one of the largest science funding agencies or science funding organizations in the United States is called the National Science Foundation. It was formed in the 1950s, and it, at least up until recently, it provides about 25% of funding for all non-medical science that happens in the United States. So it's the largest single funder besides the NIH, because that does medical funding. Now, the goal of the National Science Foundation is to basically provide funding for science that can be, that will help develop America, basically, that will improve the quality of life in America, that will, make America a beacon of science in the world, et cetera, et cetera. So, and the way that the National Science Foundation works is that they are basically handed a big chunk of money from Congress every year. In the past, it was around $8 to $10 billion. And then an independent board of nominated scientists, or these are the luminaries of their field, kind of like presidents of universities, head scientists at national labs, these kinds of people. A board of 24 of these people, called the National Science Board, basically figure out how they're going to spend that money and how they're going to distribute it to scientists. Now, in 2025 and in 2026, Donald Trump's proposal for the National Science Foundation, his budget proposal rather, was to cut the budget in half. Now, that would be bad because it means that we can only fund half as much science. Already bad. Then, 3 months ago, Donald Trump decided to just fire the entirety of the independent National Science Board, which he can do because the National Science Foundation is part of the executive branch, but this has never been done before. Third, the person he appointed to be head of the National Science Foundation in 2025 canceled, illegally, mind you, 4,000 active grants that were actively paying scientists to do research. So just canceled them, just stopped paying them, basically. So to me, this seems like this is the kind of behavior that someone would do if they don't want scientific research to progress. I don't know how else you explain it.
Yeah. Okay, see, that makes sense. Like, don't get me wrong. The only thing is, I think that, maybe there was a bit of a, semantic issue. Because when you said anti-science, what I thought you meant by that is, rejecting science. And obviously that's, prominent on both sides. But it doesn't seem like that is necessarily rejecting science. It just seems like it's preventing it from, like what's the term? Like continuing, if that makes sense. Like the
Well,
research.
so keep
that
in
make
mind
sense?
the second criteria in the definition that I offered you was that it undermines the institutions that produce scientifically or politically inconvenient scientific research. And the National Science Foundation is exactly one of those institutions. In 2024, they spent $1 billion, which is about 10% to 12% of their budget on environmental science, which obviously involves climate change, and that is very politically inconvenient for the MAGA right. And so that by doing that, they automatically meet the second criteria. Now, the first criteria, this rejection or delegitimization of scientific research that's politically inconvenient, that happens all the time. I mean, if you can go look at Donald Trump in 2015 saying climate change is a hoax, right? You can go look at the grants that were cut. These were the grants the 4,000 grants that were cut at the beginning of 2025. The reason they were cut was because they included words like diversity or the phrase or the clause trans. And the reason why they want to cut those, because they're politically inconvenient. It turns out that when you do research on, anything regarding a trans identity, what you find is that there are certain ways that you can, support these people, and there are certain medically recommended ways that you can, improve the lives of people who are experiencing this. And that ultimately does not end up being, just tell them that they're wrong, right? If research on, say, trans folks is going to lean left as far as political identities or political ideologies are concerned, because the left wing is generally the wing of the political parties in the United States that support providing medical funding and medical research for trans folks, because we want to figure out how to best support them. So this seems like it's meeting that first criteria, which is that it's rejecting the scientific consensus that is politically inconvenient. And we can go look at polling data for people who self-identify as MAGA, and they are far more likely to reject climate change, to reject the efficacy of mRNA vaccines, the existence of evolution. MAGA is far more likely to so. I mean, it seems like that they meet both criteria as far as the MAGA movement is concerned.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like that might be indexed to something other than, the identity of MAGA, though. Like, that seems like it might be because they are often Christian people, right?
Even after
And typically
controlling
that's
for
the-
religiosity, they're still more likely to reject evolution.
Really?
Yep.
Do you have a citation for that, just out of
I do,
curiosity?
yeah.
Yeah, can I get the name?
Let me pull it up for you. It's like fascinating that this is a thing that happened.
Yeah.
So the study in particular was studying specifically Mormons. The paper was called "Acceptance of Evolution Among American Mormons." And so what they do is they basically look at just the population of Mormons. So this is already people who we've already accounted for religion, because everybody in the group shares the same religion. And then you can go quantify how likely they are to accept evolution and compare it with their political ideology. And you'll find that the more conservative the Mormon is, the more likely they are to reject evolution, compared with the more liberal Mormons, who are still Mormon.
Right. Okay. That's interesting. Okay, got it.
I can pull up the paper. Oh, you found it? Okay.
Yeah, I wrote it down. I'm gonna research into that. I think that's very, very interesting. But it seems like, everything you said, there's not really much of a disagreement there. So I mean, like, you can move on to somebody else. But thank you so much for the paper as
course.
well. I'm really interested to read that. I think that's very interesting.
Yeah, of course. Have a good one.
Yeah. Take care. Bye bye.
Yeah, it is interesting. I mean, perhaps this is a Mormon-specific or an LDS-specific phenomenon, where the liberal members of the LDS are more likely to accept evolution and the more conservative members of the LDS are less likely to accept evolution. But it seems like that this is a good proxy, at least, for liberal Christians in the United States compared with conservative Christians in the United States. Liberal Christians are far more likely to accept evolution. And I mean, now I'm saying that specifically because, I'm making a claim here that's not backed up. It's only backed up by this fact about Mormons. But this is, common experience. Like, we all know liberal Christians who are going to be very, very science forward and very, very, they have an interpretation of their religion that lets them accept things like science and lets them accept things like evolution, like, cosmology, etc. And then you'll have the more conservative Christians who don't. We have a super chat from Darren Fisher with the $5. I'm so proud of my 13-year-old who came out and is an inspiration to us all when it comes to being comfortable in their own skin. Well, I'm proud of your 13-year-old for being comfortable in their own skin. That's a very good thing, and it's hard to be, right? All right, we have another guest. Let's bring up Chains Cooper. Did we speak to Chains Cooper recently? We may have. Chains Cooper, have we spoken recently?
A couple months ago, maybe.
Okay.
Seeing if you wanted to debate like psychiatry and trans stuff, medicine.
I mean, we can, but first I just have a few questions that I'd like to ask all of my guests, if that's fair. They're just simple yes or no questions. Essentially, it's just for my own interest. Sorry, where'd my Google Doc go? Wait, something weird has happened. Okay, never mind. We're good. Okay. So first, would you consider yourself MAGA?
Yes.
Okay. Second, do you think that climate change is mainly caused by humans?
Yes.
Okay. Do you think that vaccines, the ones that we administer to children and infants, are generally safe and effective?
No.
Okay. And then final question, do you think that humans evolved from non-human ancestors?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So I can just explain what I mean by anti-science, and then we can get into whatever you want to talk about. Is that fair?
Sure.
So when I say anti-science, what I mean specifically, why do I have two of these open? Sorry. When I say anti-science, what I mean specifically is, regarding a political movement, of course, is that the political movement systematically rejects or delegitimizes scientific consensus that is politically inconvenient, and two, it undermines the institutions that produce that politically inconvenient scientific knowledge. Is that a fair definition?
Sure.
Okay. So my contention is that that's what MAGA does. How do you feel about that?
Well, look, this is all my personal opinion. I think it depends on the topic. It's I know that most people in MAGA probably don't believe in evolution because of Christianity, right? And as far as climate change goes, it's like I definitely think it's a problem. I don't know what can be done about it with like India and China industrializing. But I guess, yeah, what I would say is I mean, look, I'm not a doctor, I'm not giving any medical advice, do you think that like modern medicine is a good thing? Do you believe in it? Because I think there's just, yeah, you do? Okay.
I think that for example, I had like horrible pain on February 5th of this year. Went to the emergency room, they did a scan of me and they found a tennis ball sized mass in my abdomen. And if it wasn't for modern medicine, that would have never been caught. And then it was removed a month later with surgery. Like, that's modern medicine for you. I don't know what else. I don't know why I would think that that's a bad thing.
Well, no, I'm glad you're doing good. I just like in my personal experience, doctors made me a lot worse. Right.
Doctors made you a lot worse. Well, look, I don't want to debate about your personal experience. That's like neither here nor there. It just seems like it's not really on topic.
Well, okay, so I mean, like, I guess we can do the trans thing. I mean, I used to really believe in like psychiatry, but I don't anymore. So do you want to talk? I mean, they're kind of like trans
believe in psych. Well, look, so my position is that I'm not a psychologist. You're not a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist. You're not a psychiatrist. I'm not a neuroscientist. You're not a neuroscientist. I'm not a sociologist. You're not a sociologist. So what do you think is the most likely way that we will come to know what is true about the world? As far as, the nature of trans folks.
I think that the left has a hysteria around trans people, around non-straight people, around race. I think it's a hysteria. And I don't think that's why I think that the left is not living in reality in regard to like the trans question.
Okay, so that didn't address my question at all.
Okay, so you're asking how do we come to
figure out what's true? how should you and I come to, what would be our best method, the most likely method that will get us to figure out something that's true about the world regarding trans folks?
We have to be able to agree on facts, and I don't think we do. So we have to, I think, to answer your question, to be able to lock down what facts are in regard to this issue. And look,
how would we figure out which things are facts? You and I,
Well,
how would we figure that out? What's our most effective method?
it's very difficult. You know, I can give you some other examples. I think the best way to do it would be to it just look, if I can bring up studies that are contradictory to studies that you have. I mean, you would agree with that, right? Like studies
Maybe.
can contradict
Sure.
sometimes, right?
Sure.
Yeah, so that's why it's so hard. You know, you can, if you find a claim on the internet, you can find a claim that says the exact opposite. So it's hard. So it's a difficult thing to do. Would you agree with that?
To figure out what's true? I mean, figuring out
What
what's
the facts
true, figuring out what's actually true is generally a hard endeavor. That's what scientists do, and being a scientist isn't easy. But for you and I, there is a really tried and true method that most of the time will get you to believe what's true without having to be the scientist.
So you just mean like the general scientific method of like testing a hypothesis and coming to conclusions? Is that what you're
Well, if you can be the scientist, then sure, you can go be the scientist, and that's hard, but you are more likely to figure out you're more likely to be correct about what the conclusions that you come to, of course. But I'm asking for you and I, neither of us are scientists that study, say, the sociological nature of gender, or study the relationship between gender and sex in the human brain, or study the psychological profile of transgender. Neither of us are scientists in that regard. So what can we do to best come to truth, do you think?
I think we've said is to agree on, to be able to at least agree on facts.
Look, what I'm asking is, how do we best come to figure out what the facts are? You and
I maybe find reliable sources that we can agree on.
Okay, how do you evaluate if they're reliable?
I guess it would just be something that is trusted in mainstream.
There you go. Okay, close. So what I was digging at, and what I think is probably the most effective thing that you and I lay people can do with regards to subjects that we are not experts in, is just go look for what the scientific consensus is in XYZ field, and then just believe whatever the scientific consensus is. Because even though the scientific consensus can be wrong, they're way more likely to be correct than you or I are. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, and I won't go into this too much because I know we're going to talk about trans people, but like, to me, like, C19 really showed that the scientific consensus is not always correct. Would you agree with that?
Nobody, like, I explicitly just said that the scientific consensus can be wrong.
Right.
But that wasn't relevant. The point is that it's more likely to be right than we are. But B, also the scientific consensus on the COVID vaccine was it wasn't wrong. It actually wasn't. More and more studies are coming out showing that, in fact, the vaccinations that we were providing were extraordinarily effective. They had genuine benefits. That's neither here nor there for the topic that you want to talk about. By the way, is this John Stone?
Yes, yeah, I was going to tell you that. Yeah,
weren't you the guy who crashed out about like race and IQ a while ago?
I don't think I crashed. We disagree on that. I don't want to debate you on that unless you really want to. I don't think I crashed.
It's fine. It's just I'm just like, somebody mentioned John Stone, the name John Stone in the chat. I'm like, I remember that.
I'm using my alternate account because I thought if I talked to you about psychiatry that I'd probably get banned for 3 days, and I don't want to take your live stream down either. So it's kind of a test.
So fine. We can talk about this topic. It's not an issue. So I appreciate you trying to not get me banned. So what I'm getting at with regards to this method, it's an epistemological method, is that neither I nor you have the tools, we're not equipped to evaluate what the scientific consensus is, or what the sum total of all of the data says in a given scientific field if we're not within that field ourselves, right? This is just, it's just a reality. You can only spend so much time learning so many things, right? And so what we should do is we should just go look towards the governing institutions, or the associations, or the the bodies that, you know, things like there's the National Academy of sorry, the what is it called? American Mathematical Society, for example. If the American Mathematical Society says something about mathematics, then that's probably a good indication that that's the consensus amongst at least American mathematicians. So similarly, we would go look for similar bodies and see what they have to say about gender and sex, or see what they have to say about how to best treat gender dysphoria or you know, body dysmorphia, these kinds of things. And it seems like that we should believe those things as true because they're more likely to be true than us just throwing our willy out there. And just
look, I think as far as the trans issue goes, I think the difference is I think you tell me if you disagree, you look more at like neuroscience, the brain, where I just say it's just more innate with anatomy. Is that fair to say?
The brain is part of your anatomy.
No, I know. I'm talking about you know, physical anatomy of reproductive organs.
That has to do with reproduction, but when we're talking about trans folks, when we're trying to understand, you know, this, like there is this real phenomenon that's happening that happens in the world where there are people who, whether you think that they're crazy or not, these are people who identify with a separate gender or a distinct gender from the gender that they were typically assigned when they were born. And so we should try to figure out what's going on there. Like, is this something that is purely psychological? Is it social? Is it neurological? This is something that's worth investigating. And it's completely unrelated to what's going on between their legs, right? This is something that's happening in their head. It's something that's happening to them, to their personal identity, not something that's happening to their genitals.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with the book Irreversible Damage by Abigail Schreier.
Nope.
She makes the case that a lot of this, like especially among like teenage girls, is social contagion.
Oh, I am familiar with this. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's been rejected by the modern scientific consensus of sociologists and psychologists, right?
Well, it is. Don't you think that there is a lot of financial incentive? Making a person like change genders can be very profitable to doctors, to the pharmaceutical industry, to psychologists. Would you agree with that?
No.
You don't think so?
No.
Well, I mean, trans surgery is expensive. Hormones are expensive, aren't they?
It depends on the hormones, right? But all surgeries are expensive.
Yeah.
So, like, it sounds like you would be saying that there is an incentive to make sure that the people's knees deteriorate over time, and so there's a social contagion that's caused by a top-down incentive structure to make people, you know, wear down their knee joints. Like, that's just because some procedures are expensive doesn't mean that this is a controlled conspiracy to try to make more money, right? Some things are expensive. Also, apparently, and I don't know the price offhand, but apparently somebody in chat has said that estrogen is $10 Canadian dollars for 2 months. So no, it's not very expensive.
Well, I think that over, like, if a person transitions, if they're getting surgery, especially, like I would say it would be per each person would be multi-millions of dollars of profit for. Do you disagree with that?
Do you have any source to back that up?
Well, just based on, you know,
are you generally against boob jobs too?
No, I mean
BBLs, Botox.
I don't think I guess if somebody wants to do that, that's okay. I don't think it's. I'm not like in favor of it.
Okay, so you realize that there is like a legitimate push from, you know, essentially the cosmetics industry, the beauty industry more generally. There is a legitimate push to try to make people feel like they need these kinds of things, right? This is like a real thing. And yet you're like, well, if people want to do it, it's fine. Like, so why aren't you as critical of that as you are of like as you are trans folks?
Well, because I think that somebody changing their gender, I mean, it's very, very invasive. I mean, it's more invasive.
Boob jobs are also very invasive.
Oh, that's true. That's a fair point. That they are, but I think that
BBLs are not only invasive, they're dangerous.
What's BBL?
Brazilian butt lift.
Oh. Okay. No, I mean, I'm not Sure. I mean, it's reasonable to say that plastic surgeons have an interest in having people be insecure about themselves to get them to get these surgeries for profit. I guess, and it's why I say I'm not like for it, but if somebody really wants to, that's their right to. But
Do you
don't
hold the
you
same
think?
position regarding, top surgery or bottom surgery for trans folks?
Well, I think it's more. I think it. You don't think it's more invasive? You don't think it's more?
It depends on the
Because
surgery that they're getting. Not everybody gets bottom surgery. Top surgery is basically the same. Not everybody gets surgery, period, for a lot of trans folks.
Well, I guess I would just. It just seems to me that our culture is, and again, I don't know if I'm not trying to switch topics here, but between 0 and 100%, what percentage of this do you think is social contagion?
Far closer to 0 than to 50%.
You think you
I
really?
mean,
Okay,
maybe it's 1%, maybe it's 5%. I don't know what the number is. I don't know how you would even quantify this. Like, what percentage of trans folks became trans because somebody convinced them to? Not that that's really a thing, but I would say it's a very small amount. Because typically, and this is known, the gender identity is a thing that's established very young. Like, if you ask older trans folks, they will tell you that they've known that they were trans since they were like somewhere between the age of 4 and 7.
Well, this is the thing, right? And this is what Abigail Schreier, I think she makes the case for, is that it used to primarily affect men. It was identified young, like you're saying. I think even between the ages of 2 and 4, and it was. But a lot of times people would grow out of it. And like when I was growing up, like girls who, did you ever hear
Again,
the
Abigail
word
Schreier, to be clear, Abigail Schreier's work is not taken seriously amongst the people who seriously study this, so I don't know why I should take it seriously either.
Okay, so this is to be a situation you don't trust her as a source.
Well,
okay.
The scientific community that she's attempting to dislodge doesn't trust her as a source, so I don't know why I should.
Okay. I saw her talk about it. She was talking to Jordan Peterson is where I saw her. I
sure.
would imagine you don't think either of them are credible would be my guess.
Well, Jordan Peterson is quite credible as far as, or at least he was. I think that he's become, he's had some serious mental issues himself in the last 5 years. But prior to that, he was quite credible as far as clinical psychiatry is concerned. That's I believe, or clinical psychology, whatever his expertise was in. He was actually he was taken seriously. He was a lecturer at a university. He had a clinical practice, and then he went off the deep end because something outside of his field of expertise, these trans folks, did something to his brain. It just broke his brain, and he went off the deep end and had some other mental health struggles as well. And now we are where we are.
Well, I admire Jordan Peterson. Look, I think this is a phenomenon of it's I think it's a hysteria. I think it's almost some sort of mass formation that we heard about during, I don't know if you're familiar with mass formation, but I think the left has a hysteria around the non-straight community and around race.
I understand that that's what you think. The scientific community seems to disagree with you. And so if I was a betting man, I would just go with what the scientific community, the position of the scientific community over the position of somebody who's not part of that community 100% of the time, because I'd be right more frequently than I'd be wrong.
So do you think it's only with just male and female anatomy, even if we look at dogs or cats or other mammals, I mean this is how we define a boy or a girl. It's just it's based on the anatomy, but all of a sudden in the last this change started to happen with the left about 30 years ago. It started with political correctness, all right, and we can call it woke ideology, or we can talk about social justice.
So just to be clear, you are doing the anti-science thing, right? You're like, well, I have these feels, and yeah, I know the scientists disagree, but my feels are more important. You're just doing the anti-science bit.
Well, no, I'm not trying. I'm just trying to say that there wasn't this. If you ask scientists 30 years ago about this trans issue, they would have disagreed with you, right? The majority of them. They would have
Perhaps,
said this is,
and then more research was done, right?
See, I don't think it's the
If you had
research.
asked scientists 150 years ago whether or not the atom could be harnessed for energy, they would say no. And then more research was done, and now we figured out it can be.
When do you think that it changed, that it became an issue more of just reproductive organs is what defined a man or a woman to just how a person feels about it, their brain structure? I mean, you're telling me I'm being anti-science with my feelings, but literally the way somebody identifies their gender is what they feel.
Well, when we're talking about the identity of someone, it's generally very hard to like actually go into someone's brain and pick out the part of their brain that gives them this identity. Now, it is the case that there seem to be some structural differences and functional differences amongst or between trans folks and, you know, their cisgender counterparts of the opposite gender. So like if you have a trans woman, there seems to be functional and structural brain differences compared with a cis man. So there are genuine like neurological features that are there. But as far as psychology is concerned more broadly, it's very hard to, you know, it's not like being a physician, right? It's very hard to like get an objective measure of how much ADHD somebody has or how much schizophrenia somebody has. Like you have to talk to the person and you have to, you know, evaluate based off of the things that they're saying and based off of their behavior and based off of, you know, their memories and, you know, perhaps by communicating with family members, you have to evaluate based off of those pieces of data because you can't just go digging around in somebody's brain all the time. That doesn't mean that there's not a genuine physiological cause, and it also doesn't mean that it's just made up and that it's just based on feelings.
Look, there's brain differences for all kinds of things. I'm sure there's brain differences. There's brain differences in people with mental illness like schizophrenia and bipolar disorder, and people who are serial unalivers. I'm sure there's brain differences.
So would you say, and just to be clear, would you say that somebody with schizophrenia, it's just all their feelings? It's not real?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, so then, look, you think that trans folks are mentally ill. This is your position, not mine. So why would you then say that it's not real if you think that they're along the same lines as someone with schizophrenia?
No, I think that there are people, there are rare exceptions of people who are trans or intersex. I'm just saying that the culture has
the culture of
glamorized.
acceptance. Is that what we're doing?
I don't think it's acceptance, Dr. Blitz. I think it's radical indoctrination. If you're familiar, if you've ever
radical
James
who's doing
Blitz,
this radical indoctrination?
The political left.
No, I mean, but like what is actually happening here? Is it like in schools? Like what?
Yes.
Like what is this political indoctrination made of? Is it like, oh, that, you know, it's okay if you have two dads? Is that political indoctrination now?
No, but I think I would imagine there are pride flags in school. Look, just if we just take
there's American flags in schools.
But look, if we just look at it, kind of the baby boomer generation, the non-straight part of that was probably about 2%. With my age, Gen Xers, it's probably about 6%. With millennials, about 15%. Gen Zers are about 30%. I would imagine.
Oh, hold on. You need a source for that claim. There's no way that 30% of people who are Gen Z are, you know, like gay or bi. There's no way.
Pretty close to that. It's pretty. Is
this just a vibe? Is there like a source for this claim? Because that's crazy.
No,
the numbers I've seen is that as far as the entirety of the non-cis, non-straight part of our country, it's like 10% for the entirety, and that would include like asexual people, that would include trans people, that would include homosexual people, that would include bisexual people, that would include gender fluid people, that would include all types of people. Would be like 10, maybe 11% is like the entire thing. By the way, just as a quick question, are you familiar with the history of left-handedness?
Yeah, that's
okay.
Yeah, sure.
What's going on here?
Yeah. Okay, so they used to think that left-handed people was some sort of supernatural wrong or something.
Yeah. Okay. So why? So right. And so why might it be that we know of fewer people who were gay that were boomers than, say, millennials?
It was stigmatized. That's fair.
Okay. So it seems like the argument you're making is not it's not a particularly compelling one.
Well, but if it's stigmatized, then can it go the other way where it's glamorized? And that's what I think we're seeing now. I mean, I would bet you that like Gen Alpha is going to end up, especially the young girls.
Could you glamorize left-handedness?
It's probably not. No, I don't. I wouldn't. Probably not. I mean, I guess people could, but probably not.
You could try, but I don't think that would make any. But I don't think that would increase the amount of people who are left-handed, right?
That's probably
because like left-handedness is like, I actually don't know the details, but I imagine it has something to do with like brain development in the uterus, right? There's like some bias somewhere.
Look, if you are you familiar? You're a math person, like you're a math guy, right? Do you know who James Lindsay is?
No, I don't.
Okay, I really would recommend you look into James Lindsay. He's a PhD mathematician, right? Like similar to you, a very very smart man, like you are. And
is he also anti-trans?
Well, he talks a lot about the woke left, but now he's talking a lot about the woke right. So I think he'd probably define himself as a liberal, but he talked about the dangers of the woke left. And he did
why would I care what a mathematician has to say about like trans folks?
Well, he's very educated on this. He breaks down kind of the origins of this.
He's educated on it? I thought he was educated on mathematics.
Well, I mean, but he's just a smart guy in general, right? I mean,
you can have smart. Look, there are lots of smart people, but just because they're smart doesn't necessarily mean that they know what they're talking about regarding a certain subject. Which is why I'm not making any claims based off my own expertise. I'm relying on the knowledge claims of the people who are experts in this subject.
Dude, the reason I say it's glamorized is because I don't think that drag queens should be reading to kids. I don't think there should be these.
Wait, why not?
Because it's corrupting them and it's brainwashing them. What's
brainwashing about like having somebody who's dressed up in like floofy outfits? How is that hurting them, brainwashing them, corrupting them if they're reading storybooks?
Because they're trying to create an allyship, an alliance with being non-straight. This is what I'm talking about.
To be clear, being a drag queen is unrelated to somebody's sexuality or gender. These are not related things.
I think they are.
There are of course correlations, but they are not the same thing. They're not like intrinsically linked.
When I was growing up in the 1980s, what a drag queen meant was a gay man dressing up as a woman, a non-straight man dressing up as a woman. Now maybe
that's just not like the point is that the drag queen part is a man doing some kind of cross-dressing and performing in a particularly exuberant way.
But it's primarily a non-straight man.
It often is. There's often some queerness there. I agree, but that's not like a guarantee, and it's not clear to me how a man, or a male-presenting person, dressing up this way is pushing an agenda if they're reading to children. Like that, well, I'm very confused. Like, what's actually the agenda here that's brainwashing them into something?
Well, the way I'm paraphrasing, but the way James Lindsay described this, he actually kind of cited some kind of paper on it. And he talked about they're trying to leave something like leaving glitter in the carpet that will never be removed. They are trying to create an allyship with queer identities, and this is why I say it's corrupting these young people.
Look, John, and I hate to do this, but like, I feel like you'd be the kind of guy who in the 1950s would have been like, we can't have black people, and you would have said a different word, of course, because it's the 1950s. We can't have black people coming into our white schools reading books to our white children. They're trying to corrupt them. The words you're saying sound identical to what I would have heard a boomer say. It would have been the silent generation, I guess, that would have been saying that. But
I don't think you would want the Triple K or Yahtzees reading to children, would you?
Well, when part of your ideology involves bigotry, you're right. I wouldn't want that. But tell me where the drag queen activity has anything to do with bigotry, and then I'll be like, I'm on board.
If a neo Yahtzee was just dressed in their uniform reading a kid's book I'm assuming you would not be okay with that, would
Yeah,
you?
because being a neo-Nazi means bigotry. That's like one of the required parts of being a neo-Nazi, right?
So do you think that would potentially influence the children?
Well, maybe. I kind of suspect not. I think that kids are probably smarter than that, but I wouldn't want to be giving them any sort of opportunities to volunteer, or I wouldn't want to give them any sort of employment, because I don't think that neo-Nazis should be given those kinds of opportunities.
Well, if it's a, I don't
So
want...
look, the point is that like I can have one position about neo-Nazis reading to children because neo-Nazis are by definition a bigoted group, and I can have a different position about drag queens reading to children because drag queens are not by definition a bigoted group. So it's not an adequate comparison.
Just if it's a free speech issue, then you have to let the Yahtzees read.
It's not a free speech issue.
Not a free speech.
I'm not concerned with giving Nazis free speech. I like if there was a law that was passed that, or if an amendment was passed that said if you espouse neo-Nazi ideology, and then it lists like what neo-Nazi ideology is in the amendment, then you are never allowed to speak in public again, I'd be okay with that.
Look, this is part of the double standard on the left, all right?
This isn't a double standard. This is a very specific standard. If your ideology explicitly involves bigotry, I don't care for you. I don't want you talking in public.
Well, we saw kind of the reverse on this. Is this what I'm talking about with the left and their hysteria? We saw that like the pro, can I say this on TikTok, in regard to the Gaza situation, we saw pro Gaza people who were overtly anti-Semitic being allowed to be on college campuses. Were you against that?
If somebody is being anti-Semitic, yeah, I don't think that they should be allowed to talk in public. I don't think that we should be allowed to say the N-word. Like, if you're a black, I don't think a white person should be able to call an N-word, like a black person, in the N-word in public. I think that that's not good. I think that, in fact, that's bad. And if there are consequences for that, I'm all for them. If somebody's being genuinely anti-Semitic in public, there should be consequences for that. If they're just being anti-Israel, that's a political position. You can be anti-Israel and be Jewish. You can be anti-Israel and love Jewish people, even if you're not Jewish yourself. These are not necessarily the same. Now, there is some degree of anti-Semitism in some people who are also anti-Israel, but they're not intrinsically tied.
Well, the point is that the colleges allowed this to go on in terms of the pro-Gaza supporters, where they would never allow that for neo-Yahtzees. Right? Because this is the hysteria I'm telling you about among race.
So to be clear, we've pivoted now from trans folks to drag queens to you want Nazis to be able to talk in public or else something?
No, I'm just pointing out that the left doesn't really believe in free speech. That's it. No, look.
What does that have to do with the drag queen, drag queens reading to kids or trans folks in general?
Well, the reason we got into the Yahtzee issue was because I said, "Would you be okay with?"
And I said
Yahtzees?
No. Because I'd be fine with an amendment that would ban Nazis from engaging in public speech. I'm fine with that. Actually, it turns out that I have red lines.
Okay, it's just I'm just looking for.
Are you in favor of free speech?
Yeah, I mean, I just...
Okay, so then why do you have a problem with drag queens reading to children? It's free speech after all.
Well, because I think it's indoctrinating them.
Okay, but it's free speech. Even if you think it's indoctrinating, it's free speech.
Right, and I wouldn't ban it. I just don't think parents should do it, right? And in the example of like the colleges, I want the pro-Gaza people to be able to protest.
Okay, so you wouldn't ban it. So
well, I think they should do it maybe at a lake.
I'm just taking a wild guess, but I imagine that you voted for people who do want to ban it.
Oh, I definitely voted for President Trump. I don't want to.
And probably your Congress people too. I guess my point is that, and we've gotten pretty far astray from the topic. You brought up the drag queen story hour, which is it's crazy that this is like the talking point for like the anti-trans folks when drag queens aren't even trans. But it seems like that you're not willing to accept that the scientific consensus amongst the people who actually study this is that the trans identity is a real identity, that gender is a separate experience or a separate concept from sex. These are two distinct property sets, and that it is possible that you can have a gender that is not correlated with your sex. These are things that are agreed upon by the majority of scientists in these fields. So like, it's just not clear, like, are you just doing the anti-science stuff on purpose, or is it just because it bothers your intuitions?
No, I'm not trying to be. I think that I've maybe said this a couple times now, man. I think the left has a hysteria. I think
That's cool, but it seems like you're not addressing the claim that, like, if your claim is that this is like not a real thing, or if your claim is that this is like not, you know, something that we shouldn't investigate scientifically, that we shouldn't try to remedy if it's like something that's causing people distress, if that's your claim, then it seems like that you're just going against what the scientific consensus is.
I just think that there is an exponential increase, especially among young people who think that
Exponential increase, you say?
Trans or non-straight, because they have been indoctrinated into this. And yes, I do think there are pride flags all over schools.
Exponential increase, you say?
Okay, the left-handed thing. Yeah, it's just, to me, the being left-handed.
Exponential increase, you say? Like, it's the exact same thing.
It's much different than somebody changing their anatomy or their gender. Look, I think we're playing pretend here, man. And I'm just
I know that's your feelings. That's just not what the data says.
Not my dude. It's not my feel.
Sounds like it is.
Look, it's just in the last 20 years or so where we had the boys' room and the girl. When I was born, the doctor said it's a boy. I have a Johnson. There are rare exceptions of intersex, but this is one of the reasons why the right thinks the left is crazy. That's why we talk about it. This is why you say this is the drag type.
Look, you can think that if the right thinks the left is crazy because the left is just going with where the scientific consensus is, then you're just solidifying the background here that MAGA is anti-science.
I don't think that's I think that the science is, again, man, I'm sure P3DOs have a thing with their brains that are probably distinct, right? I would imagine they do.
Possibly, yeah.
Right?
And it's worth studying, right? And it's worth understanding, right?
Yeah, but that doesn't.
Wouldn't you want to know what causes this? Can we predict this? Can we do anything to alleviate the distress that it causes? Wouldn't you want to know that?
But you see, this is a danger because, like, a lot of the queer theorists.
Also, to be clear, and I know that you didn't say this explicitly, but pedos and trans folk, not comparable.
No, I'm not saying it's the same thing. I'm just, but
making sure.
A lot of the queer theorists are trying to make being a P3DO more acceptable.
Do you have data that supports that?
I can give you specific people if you want.
No, well, you made the claim that a lot of the queer theorists are doing this. I'd love data that this is actually like a large fraction of the people who are, queer theorists.
Well, okay, the queer theorists that I know of like Foucault, right? I think he actually had this issue personally.
So when you say a lot, what do you mean? Do you mean like a few people that you know the name of?
Yeah, I mean, I know a few of them, and the ones that I've looked at a lot.
Instead of saying a lot, you should say, I know of a few queer theorists who have said things about pedos.
But
that's what you should say, not a lot.
There's some of the major ones that have really influenced queer theory.
Okay, and Sigmund Freud was a major influence on psychology, but nobody takes what he says seriously anymore.
Well, I do. I think that the basic
you shouldn't.
concept.
The psychologists don't.
Look, the basic structure of the id and the superego is correct. Do you disagree with that?
The psychologists, I guess, seem to not take that as seriously as you do.
Look, the id would just be instinctual, biological, you could even say malevolent drives that are countered by the idea of a superego that is morality or even religion.
John, quick question. How hot is your mom?
How hot is my mom?
Well, I mean, yeah, if you're pro-Freud, like, it's got to be about your mom, right?
Look, I don't don't know how to answer that, man. But I'm not into my mother, if that's what you're asking me. But
Freud would disagree, by the way.
well, the childhood relationship with the mother is significant. I don't know, man. This is kind of weird to talk about, but
I agree. That's why I'm not pro Freud.
well, you don't have to agree with everything somebody. Look, I think Freud's ideas were.
Wait a minute. I'm sorry. What were you about to say?
I don't have to agree with everything that Freud says to agree with some things. I think the idea.
So regarding these alleged queer theorists who say stupid things about pedos, does that mean that everything else that they're saying is wrong?
No, but see, sometimes things disqualify a person if there's a certain level, right? Like
yeah, like saying that you're attracted to your mother, that would disqualify Freud, right?
No, I saying that like everybody's attracted to them. Look, there probably is some truth of like early childhood where a kid's like 3 or 4 or something. There probably is something going on.
So you would say being attracted to your mom is not disqualifying?
To take something somebody says seriously?
Yeah, if somebody says that, like if somebody says, "Oh, you're attracted to your mother," I don't know, if they whatever else they say, I'd probably disqualify it as I probably shouldn't take it seriously.
Look, man,
because if they're that wrong about that, then
dude, a lot of the queer theorists I was referring to are actually okay with invest a lot of times.
So again, would you say that that's disqualifying?
I think I really think the only if you would just say to me what would for me to just if one or two things about it, what is so severe that a person might say or think that would disqualify them from everything that they say, I think being like a Satan worshiper or a P3DO would be disqualification.
But
where
being in favor of incest wouldn't be a disqualification for you?
I don't.
Well, apparently not, because you are a Freud defender after all.
Well, I'm not a fan of the queer theorists, if that's what you're asking. Freud.
So you're not a fan of Freud either? Oh well, no, you are. Now I'm confused.
Oh, I just think. Look, I think Freud's ideas on dreams are like mostly BS. I don't agree with everything he says. I just think that the basic structure.
Yeah, just like how anybody doesn't have to agree with anything that anybody says. But that doesn't mean that everything that a person says is wrong.
Look, if you want to think about the id and the superego as like you could say just somebody's conscience versus the more malevolent part of their nature. It's the same analogy. It's just the id is the darkness of humanity, and the superego is morality.
These are cool vibes, but apparently psychiatrists, I'm sorry, think that this is that like Freud is not really correct.
Okay,
that it's like way outdated.
So you don't think a conflict between
also
like having
that's a good point. Isn't that Jung, not Freud?
No, Jung was big on like archetypes, the collective unconscious. But yeah, Jung was I want to say influenced by Freud quite a bit. That's probably
true. That's true. So it sounds like, and just correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like that you're saying that some people can be wrong about some things, but that doesn't mean you should discount the other things that they said or claimed or proved that are correct. Is that what you're telling me?
That is fair. I mean, look, I'll give you another example. Like in World War II, I'm obviously with the Allies, right, and not the Yazidis.
I feel like there's a but coming, and there shouldn't be.
No, there's no. But I'm just saying that I don't agree with everything the Allies did in WW2, like Dresden, for example. I mean, that's a fair point, right? Or at the end of the war, millions of German women were essayed mostly by the Russian soldiers, but I disagree with that. So I don't. But I'm still on the side of the Allies.
Okay, yeah. So you can still be on the side. You can still think that the psychologists, the sociologists, the neurobiologists, who, in an enormous display of consent, not consent. I guess consent is the right word actually. All agree overwhelmingly that the trans identity is a real identity, that it's something that's worth studying, that it's something that's worth discussing, that's something that's worth investigating. That even if some of them say dumb things, stupid things, horrible things, that doesn't mean that the entire position is bad. Just like how even though some of the allies, allied forces, or members of the allied forces, did some horrible things, it doesn't mean that the allies as a whole were like wrong for fighting the Germans, right?
Right. I mean, but gender dysphoria, do you not think it's a mental illness, or it was up until really recently? Now you could say
I think gender dysphoria is in the DSM-5 actually.
Look, and
yeah, gender dysphoria is in the DSM-5.
Being non-straight actually until the 70s was considered a mental illness.
Yeah, and you think that was wrong, right?
Yeah, I would. I think there is a lot of comorbidity. I think.
Okay, there's comorbidity between ADHD and autism. That doesn't mean that having ADHD means that you're also autistic. Like this, what?
I think that sometimes. Well, okay, so you do agree, gender dysphoria you think is a mental illness?
Gender dysphoria is. I don't think that the term is mental illness. I don't know how it's categorized in the DSM-5, but it is a serious like cause of psychological distress. It's in the DSM-5. Like this is the kind of thing that we would hope to treat, to alleviate, right?
Okay, so
I guess maybe condition is the right word.
Yeah, so that's why I don't. But see, your form of treatment, where I think you're incorrect, is to transition. Where my form of treatment would be just to treat it like another type of mental illness, where it's just, look, this is not. It's not for people to alter their anatomy, because, like I said,
so what do you think would be more ethical? And there's a hypothetical that I'd like to get into in a minute. But what do you think would be more ethical? Suppose that there was like a new scientific development that could allow somebody's autism to be controlled is probably not the right word, but to be the distress that it causes to be alleviated by somebody getting a surgery on their spleen. What would you rather? Say you have a child. The child is diagnosed with autism. And alternatively, there's another treatment where they get like electroshock therapy as like a 3-year-old. What would you rather they do? Would you rather they get the electroshock therapy, or would you rather they get the spleen surgery?
Sounds like the spleen. If it wasn't super invasive, I guess I would.
Well, I mean, it's invasive. Let's say it's equally as invasive as the electroshock therapy. In the case of the former, in the case of the electroshock therapy, the end goal is to just make them not autistic anymore. In the case of the latter, the end goal with the spleen surgery is to make it so that they're not distressed by the autism anymore. As in they don't have the social distress anymore. It doesn't negatively impact their life anymore. But they're still autistic. Which one would you prefer for your child?
But if the symptoms were alleviated, isn't it essentially the same as being cured?
No, so the distinction is that they'd still have certain psychological traits, but those traits would no longer cause distress.
Okay, and this is with the spleen example.
With the spleen surgery, whereas the electroshock therapy would just remove their autism entirely, would make them neurotypical.
I mean, electroshock can be dangerous, but is
suppose they're equally dangerous as each other.
And the electroshock, you said, would eliminate it completely.
It would just make them not. It would make them not have those psychological traits anymore.
I think both sound bad. So I mean, it's both sound bad.
Spleen surgery.
Well, it's very invasive, but
surgeries tend to be, yeah. But I mean, the survival rate's quite high.
So I'm assuming
99.9% say.
Okay. I don't know, man. They both. I mean, electroshock is obviously pretty rough. But having a spleen surgery, I don't know, man. I don't know the answer to your question. I get, you know, my instinct was I don't know. I would say spleen at first, but they both sound pretty bad.
What's bad about the spleen surgery? Aside from the fact that it's a surgery, because, you know, but it's a relatively safe surgery. They can do it laparoscopically, say.
Well, I mean, things can go wrong for surgeries, but
of course. So I mean, there's basically three options here. For you know, you have this child. This child is diagnosed with autism at a young age. You can either do the electroshock therapy, which again, let's say for the sake of argument that it's fairly safe. It's not going to like zap your, it's not going to like vaporize your kid's brain. It's the kid will survive. They can have the spleen surgery, which again, your kid will survive. It'll just let's say that the electroshock therapy, if you choose that one, that will have the effect that you desire it to have. If you choose the spleen surgery, it will have the effect that you desire, that it's intended to have, or you can just not do anything. And let the child be in distress.
Okay, so the autism is pretty severe, we're assuming?
Sure.
Okay. It's a tough call, man. I guess I would say, it's a tough call, but I guess as I'm thinking about it here, I guess for me personally, I'd rather have electroshock.
Really? You'd like your psychology to be changed?
Well, look, I mean, this is what I was trying to tell you at the beginning, that psychiatry.
You'd rather have, wait, just to be clear, you'd rather have the electroshock, which would change your personality, change your psychological traits, rather than keep your personality and just reduce the distress that it causes you.
Oh, well, okay, so wait, so the electroshock...
It takes away the psychological traits that makes you autistic.
Okay, but it also takes away, like...
But that's part of your personality, right? Like, those are your psychological traits.
Look, the answer is I don't know what I would do for my child, because I don't have children, but I guess for me personally, I'd rather have the electroshock.
Yeah, so I'll take that as a reductio. One more hypothetical, and then we can call it there. Let's say you're transported 100 years into the future. You're right before you die, right? You do one of these cryo-freezing things, right? You've heard about the cryo-freezing stuff?
Sure.
Where they like freeze your body in hopes that you'll be resurrected or whatever at some point in the future. So you do that. You do the cryo-freezing thing because maybe you get like brain cancer or something, and you're still fairly fit, like maybe you're in your 50s or something when you get this, and so you elect for the cryo-freezing so that maybe they can cure it and then revive you. So it's 100, maybe 200 years in the future, you get revived. But the way that they revived you is a little strange. They couldn't actually, or let's say it's not brain cancer for the sake of argument, let's say it's lung cancer. They couldn't actually revive you in your original body. Instead, they had to chop off your head and stitch it onto another person's body because they couldn't cure the cancer that was ravaging your body. They just couldn't. They don't have the medical tools. But they can do a head transplant nowadays in 200 years' time. Now, the unfortunate thing is that there was a little bit of a mix-up. They transplanted your head onto an adult woman's body. Breasts and everything galore, right? You know, you have all of the lady bits, right? Now, you wake up and you're told that this happened. You're told that, you know, this is a thing that it's very, very rare, but it does happen occasionally that people end up with the wrong body. And you're given some options. Option one, you could go seek psychological treatment, and they would just kind of teach you to adapt your psychology so that you could get used to being yourself, but in a like a female body. Or you could go get the surgery reversed, and you could just go have your head put on a male's body. Which would you prefer?
So wait, can I have my own body back?
No, your own body is ravaged by lung cancer and it's dead.
Okay, so I guess I would just want to be a man in a male body.
So you want to change your genitals?
So wait, you said that they put me in a female body, but
Yep.
I have a choice. But I can just go back to a male body.
Well, yeah, you'd have to undergo a surgery for it. It'd be a pretty serious and invasive surgery.
Oh wait, so I can't. I guess what I was saying is I wanted my brain just put in another male body.
Well, no. I mean, they're just going to lop off your head and put it onto a male's body. But yeah, I mean, that's a pretty serious and invasive procedure.
So I could either live as a woman or I could just be a man on another male body.
Yeah. But if you choose to change your gender, then you'll have to have a pretty serious surgery.
Wow. Well, I guess I just want to be a man because that's what I've always known and what I am. So, yeah, I guess I would take the male body.
It sounds like you're in favor of transgender surgeries, my guy.
Well, that was a pretty odd way to you put a hypothetical on there where I lost my identity and was woke up a female.
Yeah, you woke up in the wrong body. I agree.
Okay, look. All right, man. I don't really see this as, that's a bit of a different situation of young people who are being influenced by social contagion. And look, I would say whether it's the C-19 vax or psychiatric medicines or trans surgery, sometimes side effects are worse than the cure, in my opinion.
Pivot! Pivot! Shut up! Shut up!
Shut up! I tried to answer your question.
And then you brought up C-19. It just sounds like that when it comes to you, if you find yourself in the wrong body, you're fine with trans surgery. When it comes to other people, you're not.
No, I just think that there's a lot of brainwashing here going on. And again, it's this hysteria from the left.
So one last question, and then I'll let you go because, you know, you've been on for over an hour or almost an hour, and I don't want to keep you. How do you feel about the mandatory inclusion of Bible readings in public schools in Texas? Would you consider that brainwashing?
Yeah, I would.
Okay. Do you think that that's more serious or less serious than, like, occasionally a drag queen will come and read some kid's book to some children?
I think it's less serious because
to be clear, the one that's legally mandated is less serious brainwashing?
Oh, I thought you just meant in terms of harm.
No, I mean like the degree of brainwashing, because one is something that happens occasionally, drag queen story hour it's not that common, it happens occasionally, and one is now legally mandated. So it happens every single time.
And which do you think is your question, which do I think is more harmful?
Which do you think is a more serious case of brainwashing?
I don't really consider Christianity to be a serious form of brainwashing, because I think it serves as a moral foundation of Western civilization, along with the Enlightenment. And that's I get your point. I don't like the mandating part. So in that aspect,
it's literally indoctrination, though, right? It's inducting children into a religious faith.
The mandating
by law.
I agree. The mandating part, I don't like. I agree with you on that.
So it sounds like that's actually like a serious legal thing that we should fight against, and we shouldn't really be wasting our time fighting against drag queens occasionally reading to kids.
Look, I'm not so wait, in Texas
Yeah, this is a thing that happened.
Look, I disagree with that because I agree with a separation between church and state. So I agree with you there.
I can just show you, by the way. You can look it up yourself too.
I would recommend you check out James Lindsay.
If he's a mathematician writing about gay folks, I'm not going to, because it's kind of
the last
completely
thing I'll
irrelevant.
say, man, is that you're a very intelligent man. Postmodernism, the Frankfurt School, Hollywood. Look, TV is called programming for a reason, Dr. Blitz, and there's been a hysteria created.
Wait, do you think it's because of brainwashing is why they called it programming?
TV? Yeah. Program.
No,
Look,
it's not because of that. It's because you have to program the television.
Hollywood. You don't think that Hollywood has really shaped our culture? That young people think that the way they do because of like Hollywood. You don't think that's an influence? Do you really not?
Hollywood absolutely influences people.
Yes, it does.
Can you name one major film in the last, 10 years? Let's say 2 major films that glorifies trans folks? Because I can't think of any. There might be some, but I can't think of any.
that movie with Tom Hanks, Mr. Otto or something. Look, I'll give you some.
I've
Pulp
never even heard of
Fiction.
that movie.
Look, man. I'll give you some movies where this stuff.
Now, on the other hand, can you think of one major movie in the last 10 years, two major movies in the last 10 years that glorifies American, the American military-industrial complex, perhaps?
Yeah, I'm sure there is. What's like?
Yeah, there's like dozens, perhaps hundreds. So, like, do you think that Hollywood is really brainwashing people to be trans? Or are they brainwashing people to be grunts to go, serve in the forever wars of our MAGA leader?
I think that Hollywood, along with the universities, has caused.
You couldn't give me an example of Hollywood doing this, so I think that your point is moot.
Dude, I can give you plenty of movies.
Okay, give me one. Give me one Hollywood movie in the last 10 years, maybe two, that glorifies trans folks. Like some major Hollywood film, right? Like I can't think of any.
What's that movie with Tom Hanks? I think his name.
I have no idea. I haven't even heard of it.
I'll find the title or hang on. I think it's called like Mr. Otto or some shit. I don't know.
You don't even know what it's called. Clearly, it can't have been a major Hollywood film.
Off the top of my head, man. But how about that series, Queer as Folk? How about that?
I've never even heard of that. Is that a Hollywood movie?
It's a series on Showtime from about 20 years ago. It's called Queer as Folk.
Okay, so the one example you can come up with is not Hollywood. It's not a movie.
That's Hollywood.
And to be clear, it's not even from the last decade.
That is Hollywood. That is Hollywood.
Dean's in here. He's asking about that I should ask you about Black Folk. I've already spoken with John Stone about Black Folk, and we've already established that he's anti-science in that regard.
No, there's no anti-science there.
By the way, Queer as Folk is 26 years old.
Yeah,
it's not Hollywood. It's British, dumbass.
That's not British. It was a series.
Queer as Folk is a British TV show.
It was on Showtime. It's not British.
That doesn't make it Hollywood.
That's okay, man. How about the movie?
Oh, apparently there was an American version. It was based on a British show.
Yeah, fucking bring Dean up. You always.
No, I mean you've been here for over an hour. I think that we're just gonna call it there.
You want some movies? Pulp Fiction, The Birdcage.
Pulp Fiction was pro-trans?
No, but it created this hysteria around race. Yeah.
Oh my God, John! I wish I could say have a good day, but have the day that you deserve, my guy. What a guy! What a guy! I should have said hello to YouTube. I forgot. All right, let's read some super chats and we'll bring up our next guest. We can. I don't know why the audio was so quiet. I mean, like I was modifying it. It seemed like it was fine. Yeah, it's weird. Was the audio really that bad? Because like on my end, the TikTok audio was pretty normal. Well, hopefully the clip on YouTube won't be horrible audio. All right, let's read some super chats really quick. Guest was really quiet. So strange because he was almost blowing out the mic at points. Well, we'll see. I can always adjust the audio. So from Pat in the chat with $2, following caller logic, osteoarthritis is a PSYOP. True, it is a PSYOP actually. In fact, generally, arthritis more generally in bone structure is definitely a PSYOP. From Orion Cooper with the $2, this guy is brainwashed by right-wing nonsense. Yeah, I agree he is. From Dr. Pizza MD with the $2, is the radical indoctrination in the room with us? It never is. It never is. From Papa Butters, Yahtzees are a cancer. Yeah, agreed. From Don Craig with the $5, Lucy Darling is a drag queen. Women can be drag queens. That's true. Also, women can be drag kings, which is based and fun-pilled. From Moondog with the $1, thank you so much. And from Papa Butters, I already read that. From Dr. Pizza MD with the $5, why is it that only closeted weirdos think that you can be turned gay? It's a conceptual issue for them, right? From Christopher Sanford with the £5, this is what happens when someone gets their worldview from Jordan Peterson during his brain damage era. I think that's what happened. I think that's what caused the far right, or the shift in the far right amongst teenagers, because Jordan Peterson has always been good at speaking to teenagers, which is a little concerning, but fine. But there was a period of time where he was having serious mental health issues and people were still listening to him. From 49 Perfects, here's $5 for exposing that this guy is projecting his personal bedroom feelings with his mother onto trans and drag people. Yeah, maybe it was Freud's fault. Maybe it was all Freud's fault. From Pat in the chat with the $5, caller, regarding World War II, I'm on the side of allies. Also, caller, shouldn't neo-Yazis have free speech? Yeah, right? Like, look, I'm generally in favor of free speech if that speech I think is going to be valuable for society, if I think it's worth talking about. I don't think that it's worth talking. I don't think it's worth hearing from neo-Nazis. From Ryan Cooper with the $2, James Lindsay is more a Nazi than a mathematician. Okay, yeah, noted. And from Clems with the 50 Canadian dollars. Thank you so much, Clems. That's very, very meaningful. I do appreciate you, and it helps support live streams like this. So thank you so much. All right, let us bring up our next guest. I don't know why the audio was so tricky today. Said it was bad on TikTok, but like I bumped him up too. So hopefully it won't be so bad everywhere else. It was just like people, like his audio was quiet or something. All right, let me make sure that we don't have, okay, so we have PP Dog the Noodle Dog with a name like that.
Hey.
How could this go wrong? PP Dog the Noodle Dog, how's it going?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. PP Dog the Noodle Dog, how old are you?
I'm 16.
You can't be here then, I'm sorry, bud. All right, let's bring up Prince of Persuasion. Prince of Persuasion, how's it going?
Hello, how's it going?
Doing all right. Prince of Persuasion, would you consider yourself MAGA?
Like, yes, kind of. I mean, I'm not like, you know, full on like super MAGA, like, you know,
okay,
you know,
that's
White
fine.
House one and 250, but like.
So I do have a few questions that I'd like to ask before we jump in, and then we can jump in. Is that okay? They're just simple yes or no questions. It's just for a, it's like, think of it like an informal survey that I've been doing for myself. Anyway, do you think that humans are the main cause of climate change?
No.
Okay. Do you think that the vaccines that we typically administer to young children and infants, think of like the MMR vaccine, do you think that these are generally safe and effective?
Yes.
Okay. And do you think that humans evolved from non-human ancestors?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Now, I can just explain what I mean by MAGA as anti-science. Would that help? And then we can jump in?
Yeah.
So what I mean, so I'm talking about a political movement. I'm not talking about literally everybody who calls themselves MAGA. And when I say anti-science, what I mean for a political movement, what I mean is that it systematically rejects or delegitimizes scientific consensus that's politically inconvenient. And it also seeks to undermine the institutions and the procedures that are used to produce that politically inconvenient scientific knowledge. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yes.
So my contention is that MAGA does that. Now, look, nobody's going to say that MAGA is rejecting all science, because it's very easy to accept science that is, you know, already in line with your worldview or doesn't have an effect on your worldview. Like, it's very easy to agree that, you know, if you mix hydrogen and oxygen in a hot environment, that they'll combust, right? Nobody's rejecting that because it's not politically inconvenient. My claim is that MAGA is rejecting politically inconvenient science. And that's what makes them anti-science. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so do you disagree?
Yeah, no, like, I would argue that their skepticism of the scientific community is justified.
By the way, your mic is pretty quiet.
Oh, is this better?
I'll try to turn you up on my end, but there's only so much I can do.
Yeah.
You could just talk closer to your mic.
Is this better?
Still pretty quiet.
Okay. I might not be the best
that's good. I don't know what that is, but that's good.
Wonderful.
Okay, great.
Oh yeah, no, like is MAGA anti-science? I would argue, like, not really. I mean, what I'm trying to say is that power has kind of corrupted science, And I feel like the skepticism, the sort of peasant skepticism that MAGA has towards science is justified. Like,
Okay,
if you want
well,
to talk
look,
about,
I'm to be clear, I'm not making a normative claim here. I'm not saying that you should or shouldn't be anti-science. I happen to hold the position that you should be pro-science and you shouldn't be anti-science. But like, I'm not making the claim here. It just sounds like you're agreeing that MAGA is anti-science. You just think it's a good thing.
well, they're not anti the scientific method, but they're anti.
That was the background isn't MAGA is anti-scientific method, right? I gave the definition and of what I mean by anti-science.
Okay.
And I don't know. Do you think that it's a bad definition?
Well, I mean, like, I don't think it's fair to monopolize science with the term science.
What?
Well, like, you're monopolizing the word
science with the term science?
Yeah, I mean,
what does that mean?
There's a scientific method, right?
So the scientific method is not what science is. Science is a very broad term. The scientific method is the method used to produce scientific knowledge.
Yes, and then that's science, right?
No, that's the scientific method.
Okay, so what is...
I already defined what I meant by anti-science. I already gave you the definition. You want me to read it again?
Okay. Well, obviously, you and I are interested in having two different discussions, so... Sorry, I couldn't be more. I mean, I feel like it's more... I mean, maybe this is off topic, and maybe I misread your debate stream, but I think a more interesting conversation to have would be like why MAGA is the anti-scientific community.
Oh, well, I mean, like, that is perhaps an interesting conversation to have, but if we agree that MAGA is anti-science, then, we're in agreement.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because, the science in this case is flawed. I mean, the whole COVID-19 debacle,
okay, so you're just doing the anti-science here, which, fine, if you want to be anti-science, you can be. I just think that most people are not interested in being anti-science, so...
Yeah, well, I think that they're going to increasingly be, because, fundamentally, if you're... The whole structure that is used, to produce science is corrupt and it is failing, yes, they will increasingly become, these sort of, radicalized peasants. And
do you think, on what grounds do you think that the method that we use to produce science is corrupt and failing?
Well, not the scientific method, but the whole university
Well, the structures,
systems.
let's say.
Yeah.
On what grounds do you have for thinking that these are that this is corrupt and failing?
What do you think that power corrupts people? Do you think that power?
I don't know what you're doing to your mic, but it sounds like on the one hand you're talking into a pillow, and then you sound extremely clear 5 seconds later.
Okay, sorry, I'm on my phone. But do you think that power can corrupt people?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Do you think that institutions can take on a life of their own and have their own interests?
Institutions?
Yeah.
Probably, sure.
Yeah. Anyways, my viewpoint is that essentially, because this institution has been pretty much left to its own devices.
Which institution?
Science. Let's say the university system more broadly. But I mean, we could borrow.
What is happening with your? What is happening with your audio?
Is this better?
Well, it's fine, but then sometimes it just sounds like you shove your microphone into your belly button.
Yeah, sorry. Sorry. Anyways, yeah, I would argue that it's become an institution that has taken on its own, let's say, worldview and its own
scientific. A university has taken on a worldview. Is that what?
There's a, let's say, academia broadly.
Academia broadly is not an institution.
I would disagree on that. I would say that absolutely. I mean, the whole.
It's just not right. There is no academic. There's no academic association. There are many academic associations. So there is no broad academia.
In aggregate.
Yeah. So when you made the claim that institutions can take on a life of their own and have their own interests, I agreed. If we're talking about actual institutions, but academia is not an actual institution. Academia is a whole bunch of different people who work at a whole bunch of different institutions.
Do you think that society exists when it's built up?
Do I think that society exists? Sure. I wouldn't call it an institution.
Okay, so
academia is a thing. It's a category. It's not an institution. But like, to be clear, if you agree that power
I mean,
corrupts,
if you're going to argue,
if you agree that power corrupts,
argue semantics with me. I mean, we can argue
well,
semantics.
no, I mean, I was
do you believe that
I
academia?
was arguing against your equivocation, to be clear.
Okay, so do you think that academia as an entity has its own worldview, its own interests, and its own prerogatives?
No, I don't think so. Okay, well, actually, it does have its own interests. One of its interests is to, you know, maintain itself, to make sure that it continues to exist, insofar as like to make sure that, you know, people who have tenure keep their jobs, kind of thing. But as far as like political interests, I think generally not, as like a broad swath of things. Now, it is the case that a lot of academics are left wing.
Yes,
and we could have the whole discussion about why it is the case that our, you know, most intelligent people that are, you know, most deeply invested in finding the truth about the way the world works are more likely to be left-leaning, but you might not be ready for that conversation.
Well, I mean, maybe. We will circle back to that. I mean, I would argue that fundamentally the reason why academia is left-wing is because it serves their interests. Like, give more money and power to us, basically, is what they're saying. I mean, the reason why I don't believe in climate change.
Why would that make them left-wing?
Because to move to the right would mean to give power and money to different segments of society. Whether it be business people, the military, or devolve power into
sorry, just to be clear, the power that you're referring to is like
influence. The ability
influence is not a thing that's written in policy.
Okay, so when Congress passes a law, oftentimes what they'll do is they'll just kick it to one of the three-letter agencies, and these three-letter agencies will be mostly staffed of people who come from academia, basically. People who are
It depends on the three-letter agency. Like, I'd love to see the source that this is like generally the case.
Do you believe that, you know, the Rand Corporation?
Like, certainly I would imagine that the NSF is mostly going to be staffed by former academics, because this is the National Science Foundation, and science is an academic subject. But the FBI won't be.
Well, the FBI is a huge organization.
The FBI is going to be staffed by people who are formerly law enforcement, right?
Well, it would depend on the section. I mean, they've got
of course
cryptography.
But to say that the FBI would be staffed by mostly academics is probably false.
Well, most of the institutions in, you know, the federal bureaucracy are staffed with people who come from academia, either undergrads.
On what grounds do you think that that's true? It's just like, I mean, so look, of the institutions that are concerned with academic subjects,
USG is just hiring bumpkins off the street.
Bumpkins versus academics is not a dichotomy. There are non-academic, non-bumpkin people.
In artistic terms for you. Okay, do you believe
your microphone's
the U.S. government?
What is happening?
Do you believe that the U.S. government hires uncredentialed and unqualified people?
Do you mean? Wait, hold on. Are you? Maybe people in the comments have clarified for this. By academic, do you just mean anybody who has a college degree?
Yes.
That's not what academia is. What?
What do you mean?
Academia is a specific group of people who work in a specific field. These are university professors. These are scientists at national labs. These are people whose job it is to do research. That's what an academic is. Having a bachelor's degree doesn't make you an academic.
They are products of a system, right? And it's not just people with bachelor's degrees, because bachelor's degrees have become decreasingly devalued over time. But it's people with masters and people with PhDs, which are overwhelmingly employed by the government.
People with masters and people with PhDs are overwhelmingly employed by the government? I don't think that's true.
Sure it is.
No, I think what you mean to say is that most employees of the government are people with masters and PhDs.
No, because
it's just there's no way in hell. There's no way, and we can just find this out. We can just get the data. How many government employees are there? How many? We can look up federal employees. That's probably more easily available. How many federal employees are there total. There are 2.68 million civilian federal employees. Now, how many Americans have master's degrees? 25.5 million adults aged 18 or older have a master's degree. So even if every single civilian federal employee in the United States had a master's degree, that would still be just over 10% of the people who have master's degrees. So it's just not the case that they employ most of the people with master's degrees.
So does that include NGOs? Does that include local and state government?
Well, we were talking about government, were we not? NGOs are not government.
They're basically government.
They're literally not government.
They derived all...
Do you know what NGO stands for?
Non-governmental organizations.
There you go.
In the UK, they're called...
Why is your audio doing this?
In the UK, they're called Quangos. And
Okay,
they're
I don't care what
essentially
they're called in
government
the UK.
organizations.
What
I'm saying
NGOs are,
is
by
that
definition, non-governmental.
Even though they're not in the government, they get all
What is
the
happening
funding
with your
from the
audio?
government.
Are you covering your mic? Like, you must be doing this on purpose.
No. Anyways.
Okay, then why does this keep happening?
NGOs get all of their money from the government. They essentially do the bidding of the government, and they were set up in the wake of the Second World War, essentially to do social programs that it wasn't politically expedient to do in government.
So,
right, like
apparently, about 1 in 5 service-oriented nonprofits receive the majority of their revenue from government grants and contracts. So about 20% get most of their money from the government.
Nonprofits can be anything from like a cat shelter, homeless people.
Yeah, so let's dig into how reliant are nonprofits. So NGOs,
yes,
are a kind of nonprofit, right? So is your claim that specific kinds of NGOs?
Yes.
Okay, so which specific kinds of NGOs are government organizations?
Well, not literally government organizations, but
yeah, you're claiming that there's specific kinds of NGOs that are effectively government organizations.
People involved with like pro-democracy stuff. People.
So political
involved...
NGOs.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
What fraction of NGOs do you think are political NGOs? I'm actually curious.
I mean, depends.
So I guess that there's 1.5 million NGOs in the United States.
Yes.
I'm curious. So 501c3s cannot engage. They cannot like directly contribute to political stuff, right? It's strictly prohibited. Otherwise, they lose their 501c3 status. They can't promote certain individuals. They can't promote. I guess they can educate voters on issues or lobby for certain policies, but they can't. But apparently that is it has to be like a minor fraction of their overall activity. Now, if we want to see how many 501c3 organizations are there in the U.S., there are about 1.5 million. So there's 1.5 million 501c3s, and I guess that there's like about 1.8 to 2 million total tax-exempt entities in the United States. 1.9 million registered nonprofits in the United States, apparently. So most of them, the vast majority of them, are actually strictly prohibited from directly influencing politics.
I mean, that doesn't. When was the last time that you heard of someone being prosecuted?
They will literally lose their 501c3 status.
Okay, can you name me one time that's happened?
Okay, I will Google it for you.
You see, you have to Google it. I mean, besides,
I'm not an expert on 501c3s.
We are.
But look. The only reason I've been Googling this is because the first thing that you said seemed very. I was very skeptical of it, and ever since I've been fact checking you live. Basically, everything that you've said has been demonstrably false, like by the numbers. So, like,
what do you mean? Well, no,
your claim that like the government employs the majority of people with masters and PhDs. That's false. The claim that the majority of
I never made that claim.
I'm sorry.
I never in particular made that claim.
I'm sorry. Oh,
what do you think I'm doing on the section? I mean, they've got.
1 sec. Of course. Is your audio doing this? Okay. Are you doing this on profits? Apparently. Hold on. We're gonna find this.
Non-governmental organizations. All right. Well,
we were talking about government, were we not? NGOs are not government. I'm going to mute you for a sec. Just so then we can listen to the playback. They're literally not government.
They derived all.
Do you know what NGO stands for? Okay. Have a master's degree, so we can look up better things. People with masters and people with PhDs are overwhelmingly system.
Right, and it's not just people with bachelor's degrees, because bachelor's degrees have become decreasingly devalued over time. But it's people with masters and people with PhDs, which are overwhelmingly employed by the government.
People with masters and people with PhDs are people with masters and people with PhDs are overwhelmingly employed by the government. Those were your words. Now, do you want to say that you didn't say that?
Did I? I don't believe I said that.
I just replayed it.
Did you press me?
I just replayed it.
What exactly did I say?
Word for word.
Are overwhelmingly. It's people with masters and people with PhDs, which are overwhelmingly.
People with masters and people with PhDs, which are overwhelmingly employed by the government. Those are your words, word for word.
Okay. Well, what do you mean by? I mean, by overwhelming.
I don't know. You said it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it's false. Like, it's strictly false.
Okay. Well, what do you think I'm trying to say?
I don't know. I asked you if you meant that of the people employed by the government, most of them have masters and PhDs, and you said no.
Well,
I was trying to be charitable, and I was trying to interpret what you said as I thought you
intended
it, but apparently that wasn't.
You're jumping down my throat. Can I have a second? What I'm trying to say, essentially, is that the link between government, the university, and like the government and the university system is very close, right? Are you denying this?
For public universities, of course it is. They're public.
Okay.
Not all universities are public. Also, you gotta fix your audio, otherwise I'm just gonna let you go because it's driving me crazy.
All right. There's not much I can do about the audio.
It's either a connection issue or you're like casually moving away from your mic.
It's a problem with the microphone.
All right, then I gotta let you go. It wasn't gonna be a good conversation anyway. All right, let's hydrate. Gotta hydrate first. And then we'll read a super chat, or two, or three, or however many we have. From Binary Ghost with the $5, people can only be turned gay in the month of June. Oh, true. Astrologically, it is when straightness is most weak to the forces of gay magic. True. Very true. Yeah, so that's a good point. Straightness is at its weakest in June. From Kurt Fell with the $10, Dr. Blitz, I make a joke where I ask you my medical problems. I hope it doesn't bother you. I want to start asking Ems about physics questions. You can make the joke, but it's often hard to tell if it's a joke or just somebody who's not reading properly or doesn't know the word physicist. From Kurt Fell with the $5, sorry, Dr. Ems. True, it is Dr. Ems. We have $2 from Andy Cutright. They are products of a system. Folderol. Drink. I don't understand that at all. Is there a reference here that I'm missing? And from Opto Poppet with the $20, which is very generous, thank you so much. According to this caller, we shouldn't hire people with demonstrated thinking ability to make decisions that affect millions of people. We should instead hire the lowest common denominator based purely on vibes. Yeah, so there was a caller that was making that argument last week, which was a crazy thing to say. And from Andy, oh no, that was a repeat. From Dr. Pizza MD with the $5, Big Academia framed him by making him say that earlier. True. In fact, he was brainwashed. It was corrupted. Blancs with the $5 says, what do you mean when I said blank is crazy word? Yeah, he said it. I didn't say it. He said it. What happened? What was going on? All right, let's bring up a guest from TikTok. Let's bring up Marcus. Marcus, how's it going? Marcus, you're on the show. Marcus. All right, looks like Marcus isn't here today. Guess he skipped school. All right, let's talk to Rewina. Rewina? Marcus Polo. That's funny. More like he missed the Marcus. You guys are funny. Really, I love science. You deny gender science. Liberals are anti-science. Gender science is actually in favor of what I think. Turns out, Rowena, could be Rowena, but Rowena is not showing up. So let's bring up I'm Nate. I'm Nate. Have we spoken before, I'm Nate?
I don't. I've tried to speak with you in the past, but I don't know if I've ever had a chance.
I think I've just spoken with people whose name is like Nate or Nathan before, so I might just be getting confused with that. So, Nate, are you MAGA?
I don't know if I would say I'm MAGA. I mean, I'm a Trump supporter. I mean, I support Trump and I'm a Republican, but I mean, I want to make America great again. You know, it's not like I'm not going to rallies, but I'm a Republican.
You like the things that Trump is doing?
Yeah, I like most of what Trump does. I don't necessarily like everything he says, but I like what he does.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just as a few quick questions, if you don't mind, if I ask them, it's just for my own edification. Do you think that humans are the main cause of climate change?
Not necessarily, no.
Okay. Do you think that the vaccines that we typically administer to children, think like the MMR vaccine or the I think the varicella vaccine and the hepatitis vaccines, do you think that these are generally safe and effective?
Generally, yeah.
Okay. And do you think that humans evolved from non-human ancestors?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So I can explain what I mean by anti-science, and we can talk about it if you want, as long as if there's still disagreement. So
I mean, I guess you can talk about it. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, just because, I just want to make sure that we're not talking past each other, so I'll tell you exactly what I mean. So when I talk about a political movement being anti-science, I don't mean that every person in the party hated science class. What I mean is that it systematically rejects or delegitimizes scientific knowledge or scientific consensus that is politically inconvenient, and it seeks to undermine the institutions and the procedures that are used to produce that politically inconvenient science. Does that make sense?
See, I would just say that the exact opposite is what's happening.
Okay, so, but do we at least agree that that's like a reasonable definition of anti-science?
Yeah, I would say that if you deny scientific truths, then yeah, basically.
Especially ones that are politically inconvenient? Sure. Because, I mean, look, the reason why I added the political inconvenient part is because you can be, I think it's still reasonable to say that somebody is anti-science, even if they say, oh yeah, if you mix hydrogen and oxygen and then you put them in a hot environment, combustion occurs. Like it's very easy to be pro-science when the science isn't,
Listen, obviously where it's going to come down to issues that are controversial that we're going to be talking about. And so that's the point, is on the issues that we disagree on, where is the science on our side? That's the question. And so,
the question is it the case that MAGA is willing to accept science even if it's politically inconvenient? That's the question.
I think so. I think more so than Democrats.
Well, okay, so we can talk a comparison, but I'm just making the claim that they're not willing to accept politically inconvenient scientific truths. And you can say that, well, neither are the Democrats, but
I mean,
I can give you examples if you'd like.
The most prominent scientific issues at our time that are the most controversial are global warming, which again, the first one you added, which was, I don't believe that there is a true proven consensus, right? I've looked at the articles of consensus. I've looked at a number of different consensus articles, and they're all methodologically problematic, right? So what is clear about global warming is that it is warming. There is warming occurring, but we cannot necessarily deduce that it is caused by humans.
Are you a climate scientist?
I'm reading the climate scientists what they're saying.
Well, no, I'm just asking if you're a climate scientist.
No, I'm not a climate scientist. No. Okay. But I'm reading the climate scientist article.
Do you think that you are, and I'll give an example that's less politically charged.
We can just finish with this example.
I'm trying to make a point by giving an example that'll be less politically charged. So, do you think that you would be equipped to understand if there was a paper that came out in Cosmology last winter, like, in December or something like that, or maybe November, where they made the claim that, in the past, the way that we've been evaluating the distance to distant supernovas had some methodological failures, and that if you account for those methodological failures, then indeed the universe's expansion is not accelerating. In fact, it's decelerating. This is a claim made by a team of cosmologists out of South Korea. And they were saying, this methodology that was being used is just incorrect, and here's how you should fix it. And then another team, a more global team, they said, actually, our methodology is fine. Here's why you're wrong. So do you think that you would be equipped to read those papers and then come to a correct conclusion about which group is correct?
Again, the issue of methodology it can be very easily deduced based off of the type of thing. So, for example,
okay, so you would be able to do that for the papers that I gave you?
Can I respond? Can I respond? Okay,
sure.
So if you're asking me about a physics problem, right? I'm not a physicist, right?
Yeah, you're not a climate scientist either.
So yeah, well, so can I finish talking, please?
Yeah.
So if you're looking at a meta-analysis of climate studies, right, and that is not something that meta-analysis does not have as technical or complex of a thing as a maybe more inaccessible physics methodology, right? I don't have to be a physicist, right, to be able to understand a meta-analysis on consensus for climate, for the anthropomorphization of climate change, right? That is not the same level of rigor to be able to assess methodology. Can you agree with that? There's a difference between
you're talking about evaluating a survey compared with evaluating the actual science, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a difference, right?
Yeah, sure. But
So
you just have a critique over like the surveys, but you don't actually disagree that there is a consensus.
I have a critique of the consensus that all the leftists use for climate change. All the three, there's three prominent consensus I can look up right now. Okay.
You mean meta-analyses?
Meta-analyses. The most prominent meta-analysis saying it's 99% or 92% or 95% of climate scientists agree. The methodology is broken because what do they end up doing? They end up sending these surveys to a bunch of different climate scientists, and then they only take with the ones that respond to. So they say, hey,
how is that flawed?
Because there's other climate scientists that won't make a claim. And so they'll say 95%. Because that's what's in the study. You can look at the methodology.
Well, wait a minute. So if they didn't respond, how do you know that they're not making a claim?
No, they're not making
the claim.
I'm telling you what they're doing. They're not making the claim.
Just to be clear,
telling you the methodology.
I'm just curious here. How are you supposed to figure out what the consensus is?
Because the consensus
amongst people, even if some people won't respond to a question, what are you supposed to do?
You couldn't say, right? If you asked 1,000 climate scientists and 100 get back to you.
Yep.
And of those 100 that get back to you are saying that it's man-made caused. You only have the consensus of the 100 that applied. The other 90 didn't want to be able to respond because they have climate research, they have their opinion, but they're not willing to say that they believe that it's anthropomorphic.
How do you know that that's why they're not responding?
It's regardless. They're climate scientists that they're reaching out to. I don't know exactly why they're not responding.
You understand that you absolutely can. This is actually how you do. This is how you come to conclusions about large populations, even with a smaller sample size. That's totally fine.
No, it's not smaller sample size. What do you mean?
Of course it is. 100 is a smaller sample size than 1,000.
No. What you're trying to talk about is that's when you have large numbers.
100 is actually pretty good.
It's also if you did a random distribution. It's also if you did a random distribution. All these people are politically charged. The people that believe in this.
So that's a claim.
They are. Yeah. You think? Okay. So you think that the people?
Do you have survey data that supports that?
I can look. I can probably. Yeah. I can not. I wouldn't be surveys data. I could. I could probably find survey data of people who are just in academia on the left, right? That identify as the left and believe in climate change.
Believing in climate change isn't necessarily politically charged.
That are.
Yeah.
No. But no. But it's what do you mean? They can be looking for tests and they're trying to just do some p-hacking or find test things that they want to test and put money where they want to put. They can be ideologically possessed. These institutions can be ideologically possessed. What are you talking about?
They can be. You'd have to provide evidence for that. Look, so if the claim is, and I'm just going to try to summarize your claim just to make sure I'm not strawmanning. It sounds like you're saying, look, so the methodology that's used in these meta-analyses is that they send out a message to a lot of people, and only some people get back. But among those people that get back to them, overwhelmingly they agree that climate change is caused by humans. It sounds like you're saying that that's not a valid way of collecting data. That's not a valid way of coming to conclusions about larger populations.
It isn't valid if I have a sample of climate scientists that I am trying to reference and then saying only the ones that got back to me, 98% said that.
Yeah, that's a totally valid.
Okay,
that's a totally valid conclusion.
No, that's not the consensus because the consensus is actually greater. The consensus would be implying the 1,000 that were making articles.
The consensus is a percentage thing.
Percentage of what?
It's percentage of the set of climate scientists, let's say, or the set of particle physicists, or whatever you're talking about. Consensus is
the set of climate scientists is the greater set.
You don't have to you don't have to ask every single climate scientist to be able to establish what the scientific consensus is.
1,000 climate scientists.
Okay. Do you think that there's only 1,000 climate scientists in the United States?
No. I'm sure there's more. But they're
okay. So then why did they? So then it wouldn't even have been enough for you if they had asked if all 1,000 had gotten back to them, right?
It could be within the last few years. There could be some conditions that limit it to be only 1,000. What if you're making an article and you're talking about specific commentaries on climate change? What if the commentary?
It seems like you're just mad. It seems like you're just mad that you don't understand how population sizing works for surveys.
No. You are being disingenuous by saying that it would be impossible for there to only be 1,000, and that's not a fair distribution. I'm saying, hey, 1,000's fine. Reach out to 1,000, but you can't say that only that 10% get back to you, and that's 98% of climate scientists.
The claim is not that the people who got back to you are 98%. The claim is that they're representative of 98. That they're representative of the general population as a whole.
And that's not true. That's not true. How would you know that?
The way that you know this is because you can. It's at least generally fair to say that if you send the survey out to as many people as you can, that those people will have a fairly normal distribution of positions.
No.
That's a standard assumption in statistics.
That's not a standard assumption.
Absolutely, it is a normal distribution. Sure, it is.
You're misgeneralizing this.
That's like one of the critical assumptions that goes into these kinds of statistical analyses.
Can I tell you why you're wrong?
By the way, you still never actually answered my question. You just kind of sidestepped it.
How did it? First off, I'll just tell you.
I did ask you a yes or no question.
Okay, tell me what your yes or no question. Then I'll tell you how you're wrong.
Do you think that you would be equipped to evaluate which of the cosmological teams is correct?
Which of the cosmological teams is correct?
Yeah.
What do you mean? What do you mean correct? That wasn't the purpose of the survey. The purpose of the survey is to get.
But you're still avoiding the question.
I'm not avoiding the question. What's the relevance of the question? What's the relevance of the question?
I promise it's relevant. I will get to it.
No, I'd like to know the relevance when we're talking about assessing a meta-analysis of consensus.
Just answer the question.
What's the relevance?
I will get to my point after you answer the question.
Did we not already agree that I'm not a physicist?
Yeah, you're not a physicist, so can you adequately establish which is more likely to be correct?
Authority when we're talking about a meta-analysis study that we can actually analyze very easily.
I'm not making an appeal to authority.
You are.
No, I'm just asking you a very straightforward question. Do you think that you are capable of assessing which group is correct?
Right now, we're talking about analyzing meta-analysis.
Yeah, because you dodged the question that I asked you 10 minutes ago.
No. This entire thing started.
Can you answer the question, please?
I answered your question. You asked me.
Is the answer no or is the answer yes?
I told you
it was
I
a yes or no question.
I'm not a physicist.
Okay, so you couldn't, right? So are you a statistician?
No, I'm not a statistician. I'm not a statistician.
Okay, you're not a statistician either. So why should I believe your understanding of how to properly do statistical analyses and population scale inferences of meta-analyses of scientists when you have no training in this field?
No, it's very obvious because you're already making a very basic error. Yeah, it's very You send 1,000 out there. You can't say you can't say that it's a 98% climate scientist when there's a 900 more climate scientists that didn't give their input.
This is exactly what we do with statistics.
No.
That's exactly what we do.
Why you're wrong. Let me tell you your characterization because I went down your rabbit hole.
Please.
I went down your rabbit hole. Right now it's my turn. You're confusing if you're going to go ahead and do polling, right?
Which is what we're talking about here, to be clear.
No,
I mean,
it's
a
not
survey,
polling.
but
No,
it's a
it's not,
survey,
because
but
it's not random. It's not random. You're not talking to random people and asking them randomly.
you're talking to random climate scientists.
No, you're not. They're not picking random.
They're picking random climate scientists, or are you telling me that there was a bias in the selection group that they
No.
that
If
they
had
heard from?
No, let me draw the analogy to
Well,
that would be actually
I'm just asking a very
appropriate.
simple question. So
Let me
in
draw
the
the
particular
analogy that would
meta,
actually-
in the particular
Let me draw the
meta-analysis you're
analogy
referring
that would
to,
actually be appropriate.
in the
Let me draw
particular
the analogy-
meta-analysis that you're referring to, did they send the survey out to specific climate scientists, or did they just send it out to as many climate scientists as they could?
It depends on this. They're all different. But fundamentally they're all fall in the same trap of sending a bunch and then only.
It's not a trap. That's normal.
It isn't normal.
It's very normal.
It's not normal.
It's very
I'm
normal.
telling you why it's not normal. I'm telling you
Why
right now
isn't it
it's why it's
normal?
not normal.
Tell me why
Because
it's
you
not
keep
normal.
interrupting me. So when you have polling data, right? It's random. Okay? So if I had like 1 million people and I called 100 random people, I can make a thing. I can make a model that says, okay, I called 100 random people. This is what it was last time. This is what it was. This is what maybe this time. I can make generalizations about the greater picture. This is not the same thing. The appropriate analogy would be if I had the 1,000, and then of the 1,000 picked random, and then I made an and then I would be able to make because some of those people wouldn't be the people that would be excited about answering, right? The random people.
Well, it seems like we don't have any information about why they didn't answer at all.
No.
We don't have any of that information, right?
No, that's not necessarily true, because I
Do we have information about that?
I believe that you could look at what they say, and I believe that you
I thought
can
they didn't
look at
answer.
No, again, can I talk? You're interrupting.
Sure, I'm just trying to understand what you said. By the way, what's the name of the study? Just so then we can pull it up, so we have something to reference.
I mean, I'm just going to Google all the climate change ones. I think the Cook one is the most obviously broken one off the top of my head.
Let's pull up that one.
So, what some of these do? But okay, on. So first off, hold on.
From 2014, by the way, but that's okay.
Do you acknowledge the difference between random population versus asking a bunch of people and then getting some people responding? Do you see the difference?
The typical understanding amongst people who conduct these surveys is going to be.
Question. I asked you a specific question.
I'm going to answer your question.
No. Do you
Don't
see
worry.
the difference? Yes or
I
no?
think
Do you see
it's
the
a category error. No. I think
it's
that
not a
this is.
category error. Do you see the
It
difference?
absolutely is. It absolutely is.
No. Do you see? Okay.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. No.
There's no difference.
I mean, like, obviously there are different qualities of people. Like, random people are going to have a different set of characteristics than.
Repeat what I said, just to clarify.
You're asking whether or not there's a difference between sampling a random part of the, say, American population, as opposed to just sending 1,000 emails to climate scientists and only 100 answering. You're asking whether there's a difference there.
There's no difference there?
No, but qualitatively, no. If you send out a survey to 100,000 Americans, I'm explaining. I'm right now. You just gotta not cut me off.
Yeah. Go ahead.
The irony, right? So if you send out 100,000 surveys to Americans and you only get 2,000 respondents, that's the same thing as sending out 1,000 surveys to climate scientists and only getting 100 respondents. Like it's the same thing fundamentally.
No. Because what
how
happens,
are they different? How are they distinct? What's the
because
distinguishing
if
feature?
you call random ones, if you had 1 million people, right, in a town, and you called a bunch of people, right, random people, the appropriate analogy then, right, the actual appropriate analogy to this Cook scenario would be, you don't just send 1,000, right? Of the 1,000, you pick which ones you want to pick, right? Randomly, you pick a smaller subset, maybe 100, right?
What?
You only pick 100 because that's
what they did.
No. You're not picking the 100. The 100 are picking themselves to be able to self-report back.
Wait a minute,
That's
hold
the
on.
difference.
So look, when you do a survey of the general population, you're not going to send out the survey to all 340 million people in the United States. You're going to pick randomly, say 10,000 people in the United States that from, you have a list and you're just going to randomly generate people from wherever. It's just completely random, at least.
Who is
picking?
Who is picking?
Probably a computer.
Okay, so a computer is randomly picking who they reach
randomly
out to.
select. I mean, I'm this is a hypothetical. Like it's more sophisticated than this, but this is a hypothetical. So, of the 340 million people, you pick out 10,000 randomly, and of those 10,000, you send all of them a survey. Now, most of the time, people don't respond to surveys, and so maybe you only get 1,000 back. Now,
sure,
you can still infer plenty of stuff about the entire
so map
population from that
scenario,
1,000 people.
Map
right?
that scenario
Yes,
to
I
the
will.
actual scenario.
Now,
mapping
how
it
many
to-
climate?
that would-
Let's do it.
You're not mapping it correctly.
I'm about to. Give me a sec. How many climate scientists are in the U.S.? So there are.
Look at the cook one.
Hold on, chill. So apparently, at least according to AI, who knows if that's trustworthy, but there are roughly 10 to 20,000 scientists who are involved in climate science research, right? Strictly speaking, there are 10,700 atmospheric scientists and meteorologists. So let's just take that 10,000 number. So you take that 10,000, that list of 10,700 people, according to AI. We'll just assume it's true for now. And you only send out, from that list of 10,700 people, you let your computer pick 1,000 at random. So you send out surveys to 1,000 of those 10,000 people at random. That would be akin to, from your list of 340 million people, sending out a survey to 10,000 at random. And then, of those 1,000 people who you sent the survey to, the people who respond is an even smaller group. In the same way that even if you send out 10,000 surveys to random Americans, even if only 1,000 respond, you can still learn something. So the point is that even if you only hear back from 100 of these people, you can still make inferences about the wider population based off of the response of those 100 people that chose to respond for whatever reason. That's exactly what we do in large-scale surveying of the general population, and it's totally fine to do as far as small-scale, like surveying of atmospheric scientists, for example.
No, I don't believe so, because it's who's picking it. It's who's picking it.
Who's picking the first 1,000, or who's picking the 100?
What I'm saying is that there are, okay. So first, it's a small subset, like this is like the distribution laws, right? That we're talking about are like many orders of magnitude. It's like. For you to be able to try to like map on that order of magnitude of what the models are to like a 10,000 model size, I don't even think that holds true.
Okay, this is just demonstrating what you agreed to earlier, which is that you're not a statistician. But okay, go ahead.
No, okay. So do you think that the law of large numbers apply to the large of large numbers are more strong with more numbers or more strong with less numbers?
If you're referring to the tendency that distributions tend to become normal distributions when you have sufficiently large populations and sufficiently many variables, that's not the law of large numbers. It's I think it has Gaussian. Well, there's another name for it, but if you're referring to just that, which law of large numbers are you referring to? Because the one that I just mentioned is not the one that's used to describe Gaussian distributions.
I'm saying if you have a larger population set, right, that you're working with, right, versus a smaller population set, you can more easily make
the central limit theorem. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
You can more easily make generalizable statements with random sampling. Compared to a smaller set.
So it's not about the size of the population, it's about the size of the sample, right? So like whether or not you have a sample size that's 100 million, or whether or not you have a population that's 100 million or 100,000, if your sample is say 1,000, then your standard deviation is going to be roughly the same in both cases.
No, I think the larger your number is, right? The larger the total set is, you could have a dramatically less, exponentially less relative to 10,000, right? So for example, if how many people do they ask in nationwide polling? How many people are they asking?
I think it very very much depends on what they're polling. I've seen polls that have like sample sizes of like less than 10,000 people.
They can have hundreds of people. They can have less than 1,000 people.
Yeah.
So they're getting nationwide.
Do you understand how you can approximate the standard deviation, the standard error size for a given sample size? Do you know how to do that?
I'm saying that the larger number makes the smaller number makes that more easy to do.
That's
if you
not
have a
true.
Smaller set,
you should take a stats class.
100%. That's
no.
So you're saying
no, it's just not true.
So you're saying that a larger set,
A larger population, the size of the population doesn't really affect the, as long as the population is large enough that you can approximate the actual positions with a normal distribution, then the size of the population set doesn't really matter.
You said that it would have to be proportionally the same, and I'm saying it doesn't have to be.
No, I didn't say it has to be proportionally the same. I didn't say that.
That's, you don't think it has to be proportionally the same?
No, it absolutely doesn't. As long as the population is large enough so that the distribution approximates.
So it has to be large enough.
Hey, Nate, I'm talking. As long as the population, okay, I'm gonna mute you so then I can actually make my point. As long as the population is large enough so that the distribution of the entire population approximates a normal distribution, then the actual size of the population above and beyond that point is completely irrelevant. And honestly, for like the for distributions that are like, or for populations that are like bigger than 100, you're basically already at the point that a normal distribution is perfectly fine, and which means that you don't need to know anything about the population size in order to infer features from a smaller sample size. Like this is just stuff that like you should learn.
So if I ask
unfortunately,
ChatGPT,
because you don't know it, it's just the case that you're coming to incorrect conclusions, which is exactly what I advise against, by the way. If you're not an expert in this field, you shouldn't be trusting your own guts, and instead should be listening to statisticians, for example.
No, dude, the cook has been debunked. Okay, so I'm telling.
By who? Wait, by who? By ChatGPT?
I mean, again, do you think that ChatGPT is not a reliable source?
I mean, it's definitely not a debunker. ChatGPT can often give you reliable sources because it looks up reliable sources.
Are you a statistician or is
no? I'm a physicist, so part of our training is in statistics.
Okay, hold on. So who are you to be able to tell me that the statistical
I have taken classes on this, right?
I have too.
You've taken classes on statistics? You've taken classes on experimental error analysis? So then can you tell me how, if the general population can be approximated as a normal distribution, how do you estimate the size of the standard deviation given the sample size? There's a very straightforward formula for this. How do you do it?
I'm not going to remember a formula from college.
Okay, so then clearly you don't know what you're talking about because the formula is just the square root of the sample size.
Okay, again, I'm not going to remember a formula. This is you. Listen, you may be, and this may be a thing that you do. You may be in the world of what you do. You seem like you're in academia or something.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm not surprised you remember a formula. I'm a software developer. I am working on building stuff. Okay. I'm not going to remember what you're talking, this specific statistician's formula, but I have the ability to critically reason and look at things and be able to ask AI. This is
not a complicated formula. So to be clear, if you have a sample size of 100, then your standard deviation, which is a good approximation for how big your error bars are going to be, is 10.
This is a memorization thing, dude.
This is like a really straightforward, like this is like remembering that like the square root of 9 is 3.
What percentage of your audience do you think remembers that?
Of the people who actually like learned that in college, I would imagine most of them.
No, that's a joke.
This is like a really this is like saying that you wouldn't remember the first. This is like saying what software what languages do you use?
Like TypeScript, Rust, Go.
Okay, did you take Java in college? When I was in college, I took Java. Okay. Do you remember how to, I don't know, could you do a Hello World program in C++?
Off the top of my head, probably not right now, no.
Oh, that's rough. I thought you were a software engineer.
See out Hello World, you know?
See, you remember C out, right? That's like this. That's like remembering what I'm talking about.
It's not remembering like that.
It is, because it's literally one symbol. It's the square root symbol.
One class over 10 years ago for me. I'm not gonna remember one formula, bro. Like that's like
okay.
So
to be clear, when you were looking into this deeply, like you claimed that you should have stumbled upon this formula, right? You should have stumbled upon that there is a standard formula for the standard deviation for the size of a for a normal distribution.
When I'm looking it up, I can go ahead and look it up, you know. And
how did you not come across this when you were doing your deep dive research?
It's just going to go over my head when I'm not going to be focused. It's not going to be
over your head.
I'm going to memorize. I'm not going to memorize it. I'm going to be like, okay, that's what this is.
Well, when I asked you it, I imagine that you would have been like, oh yeah, I remember looking into that. Let me go pull it up for you because I don't remember exactly what it is.
Like, dude, like what is do you see like how you're falling into the trap of the left by like projecting onto other people?
This isn't projecting. You've self-admitted it.
You're projecting. Right now, no. Right now, you are projecting what I should do in a given circumstance. Are you not?
How am I projecting? Projecting typically implies that like I'm the one doing the thing that I'm accusing you of doing. That's typically what projecting is. But if by projection you just mean that I'm telling you what you should do, yes, of course.
You're expecting, yeah. So it's not projecting.
I expect you to be like intellectually honest when you're engaging in your research.
No,
yes.
no. You didn't. Not intellectually honest. That I have to know your thing. That I have to know your thing.
Have you ever come across this formula before?
I'm sure I've come across the formula before.
Can you remember ever coming across it in your research and when you were looking into this deeply?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Okay, so if you don't think that you've ever come across this formula before, then why do you think that you've looked into it deeply when this is... No, you said that was like when you were in college or something. I'm talking about when you looked into it deeply, right? When you looked into this climate change debunked consensus deeply, I imagine that when you were, because you're not a statistician, that you probably did some digging into how statistics works and how you can analyze errors, for example, with regards to certain like sample sizes and so on and so forth, so that you could come to the conclusion that this is invalid. And when you did that, you should have come across the square root formula for the size of the standard deviation. But it seems like you didn't, because it wasn't familiar to you.
This is very simple. This is very simple. I'm looking at the results right now. I'm looking at the results right now. This is saying the question implies, right? The question implies to the climate scientists, asking them, do they endorse the notion that climate change is human caused?
Wait, I'm sorry. Does the paper say the question implies?
Yes.
Or is this ChatGPT telling you this?
Well, I can look at the paper right now. I'm looking at ChatGPT, but I can pull up the paper.
Okay, hold on. I have the paper pulled up right here. I just want to see if, and you know, this is from 2014, but that's fine.
I mean, this was the notorious paper for 99% consensus.
Well, I can show you something else that you might be interested in if you haven't updated your talking points since 2014, then you might want to. Here's another one. This paper is.
I mean, are we gonna deviate? I thought we were gonna.
No. We can. I just wanted to show you something in case you. So who was it? It was Cook Climate Science Meta-Analysis 2014. I can pull up the paper and we can just look at it.
Okay,
wait,
yeah,
that's not Cook. I'm sorry. How do you spell it? Is it COOK and no E at the end?
I'm looking at Cook right now with.
Oh, I see it here.
No, John.
This is 2013. Yeah, 2013. Okay, so so the word so the word implies, appears, or implicit, or something like that appears 12 times in the document. The first one, and I can just show you. We can look at this together.
I'm looking at it right now. Level of endorsement.
No need to gatekeep.
Level of endorsement. So here's the exact same thing.
So yeah, so we have the first implication, the first usage of the word implication is implicit endorsement. So these are the levels at which somebody might be endorsing the idea, I guess. So there's implicit endorsement, implies humans are causing global warming, e.g. research assumes greenhouse gas emissions cause warming without explicitly stating humans are the cause. So that would be a level of endorsement, but not an explicit level of endorsement. That just seems like it's a category. So,
yeah, so
are you saying that that's problematic?
So ChatGPT summarized it as 32.6% endorsed human-caused warming. Right.
Well, why are we like we can just so 32%? Yeah, okay, we can just look at the paper, right?
0.7 rejected it. 0.7 rejected it, and 66.4% of abstracts stated no position on whether humans cause warming.
So they just didn't respond, is what you're telling me.
So it's okay. So it stated no position.
Okay, so you're telling me that they just didn't answer that question? Were there other questions that they answered?
Actually, this Cook article was different. This Cook article looked at the meta-analysis.
It wasn't even a survey?
No, this isn't a survey. This is what.
So then why did you bring up this whole business of sending 100 people, sending 1,000 people? Oh my God!
Again,
such a waste
there's
of time.
other ones like this. There's other ones like this. Well, first off, this is worse. This is worse than not taking a survey. Right?
So we just had like a 30-minute conversation based off of something that you didn't even get right.
Okay, dude, I can pick a different one. I just off the top of my head, I picked an article. I was giving you one example of how a meta-analysis fails.
Wait, so
I gave one example about how a meta-analysis fails, and I'm giving it off the top of my head remembering.
So I'm just curious. So when you say that, and we can just look at the abstract just really quick. We'll just look at it really quick, okay? It says We analyzed the evolution of scientific consensus on anthropogenic global warming in the peer-reviewed scientific literature examining 11,944 climate abstracts from 1991 to 2011, matching the topics global climate change or global warming. We find that 66.4% of abstracts expressed no opinion or no position on AGW, 32.6% endorsed AGW, 0.7% rejected AGW, and 0.3% were uncertain about the cause of global warming. So we can say that of those who took a position, surely we can agree on this, of those who took a position, the vast majority were endorsed AGW, right? Of those papers who were taking a position on whether or not take a position about anthropogenic climate or anthropogenic global warming.
Stating no position is taking a position.
No, it's not. It just means that the paper doesn't include a position.
What does that mean?
That's not a position. Like for example, if a paper is just, for example, recording new data, I'm going to give you an example. Please listen. Suppose that you're a climate scientist and you think of a new way to try to study the temperature change, or the average global mean, the global mean surface anomaly? I think that's what it's called, global mean temperature anomaly. You figure out a new way to do that. So you're like, well, if we take a look at these sponges that live in the Caribbean Sea, then we can analyze the whether or not the global mean temperature anomaly has gone up or has gone down over the last 150 years or whatever. Maybe they come up with. And so all they're doing is maybe this paper, all it's doing is reporting, here are the conclusions that we come from this new method of developing or of measuring temperatures, and that would have no position about whether or not humans caused it.
Issue one with this. Okay, I'm just reading. This is what ChatGPT wrote right here, and this is what you could probably look at the abstract. Again, it's not, dude. Don't listen. Don't doubt the model.
Bro's relying on ChatGPT in order to have an argument.
You can count. No, I'm not. We're talking about evidence here.
Yep.
So if you're gonna,
I'm looking at the paper right now.
Show me your statistical degree until you, and then you can count.
I have a degree in physics. When you do a degree in physics, you have to take and learn statistics.
Show me your degree in statistics. Okay. So researchers examine 11,944 abstracts written by 29,083 authors that appeared in Searches for Global Warming, Global Climate Change. Those authors worked across climate change related subjects, such as climate physics, impacts, mitigation, paleoclimate, ecology, and social science. So the study did not individually verify that all 29,000 were professional climate scientists.
Okay. So so to be clear, are we now criticizing the study because and I just want to get this clear just so then I can make sure that we're talking about the same thing. So first, your criticism of this study is that they sent out a survey to 1,000 people and only 100 responded.
No,
that's not true.
Obviously,
that's not true. That obviously didn't happen.
Obviously, you disingenuous. Obviously, you disingenuous. Obviously,
okay, I can just mute you. So then you said, oh well, this study's wrong because they only were talking about the number of people who actually expressed a position, which was overwhelmingly in favor of the global warming, the anthropogenic global warming claims. Most of the papers that express a position were obviously in favor of anthropogenic global warming. But that's not what this paper's doing. That's not the problem with this paper. The problem with this paper is actually that they didn't verify that it was all climate scientists that were writing these papers. So which one is it? You can go ahead and unmute now. Oops, I accidentally muted you when I tried to ask you to unmute. Go ahead.
Multiple things can be happening at the same time. First off, it's disingenuous when I'm giving you an example of another study that I could probably find, and I just gave you the Cook study off the top of my head. Let's go to the Cook study. It's disingenuous to think that I would say that the Cook study is sending out stuff when it didn't. Okay. So
but it sounded like that's what you were referring to when we were talking about the survey.
No, I gave you an example off the top of my head, brother. Okay, so
an example of a survey giving thing?
Get a grip. It's not a point for you when I'm pointing out.
Well, it just shows that you didn't actually know what you were talking about, right?
No, I'm talking about this. We're talking about this right now. We're talking about one study at a time. I gave you an example about how one methodological failure could occur,
which was completely irrelevant for the example that you gave.
Okay, sure.
It's also not a methodological failure, by the way.
Listen. I'm giving. It is a methodological failure.
It's not, and you would know that if you knew anything about statistics.
We can argue about it when we get to that example. But right now, it's disingenuous to say that I'm applying that to.
Oh, you think that we're going to get to that example? That's cute.
This is the first example we came up with that I top of my head memory. I didn't remember. I didn't check it first. I'm just being a decent human, right? Just trying to give you my first thought.
Yep.
Okay, so first off, it's examining the abstracts. First is the abstracts. So an abstract is something that is you could it doesn't have to be in the abstract that you would say that there could be some impact from humans on that could be causing this. It could be in the conclusion. It could be anywhere else. It's not in there. It's looking at specifically the abstract. That is a major limitation of a meta-analysis, just to look at the abstract and to say and to make a claim about what climate scientists say. Next, it's not even checking if the authors were even climate scientists. It's not even checking whether the people are writing it are climate scientists. And then,
by the way, did you verify that with ChatGPT, or is that just something ChatGPT said?
There's a citation with Brown climate science. I mean, it's probably in the study. It's probably in the study right now.
Okay, we should look. We should look before we actually.
It literally just gave me the study.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Just to be clear, it seems like the purpose of the study is to establish consensus in the scientific literature, not the consensus amongst climate scientists per se. That's actually the title of the paper.
Let's look at what the abstract says.
Yeah, so we can read it together if you want.
We analyze the evolution of scientific consensus on anthropogenic global warming.
Yeah. Where do you think that scientific consensus is? This is
what?
Of the literature.
Of the literature or of the okay, no, that's not.
In fact, they say it. We analyze the evolution of the scientific consensus on anthropogenic global warming in the peer-reviewed scientific literature.
Scientific consensus is in peer. Okay.
That's what it says in the abstract.
No.
I'm sorry, man. You just got blown out.
You cannot read. We analyze the evolution.
Read?
Yes, no, you can't. I'm going to read it for you out loud. I'm going to break it down for you. We analyze the evolution of the scientific consensus. Scientific consensus is not the same thing
in the peer-reviewed literature.
No. It's
the scientific consensus in the literature.
Be quiet for a moment. Be quiet for a moment. I'm going to give my argument and you respond. Okay. Can you respond? Take a breath. Scientific consensus means people that believe a thing, right? It's the majority of people in a field believing a thing. That's what consensus means. And consensus doesn't mean there's no articles of consensus. Okay, now let's continue to read it.
What? I'm sorry. Hold on. No. Hold on. I'm sorry. I'm cutting off there. If you want to establish what is actually, if you want to, sure you are. If you want to establish what the conclusions are from the scientific community, what you would go look at the scientific papers. In fact, that seems like a better way than just emailing a bunch of scientists, right? I know you're not finished, but you know what else we could do? I'm just gonna introduce something, just introduce a new piece of data just because it's interesting. So this is a paper from 2021 entitled Greater Than 99% Consensus on Human-Caused Climate Change in the Peer-Reviewed Scientific Literature. So let's just read the abstract quickly. It's not very long. While controls over the Earth's climate system have undergone rigorous hypothesis testing since the 1800s, questions over the scientific consensus of the role of human activities in modern climate change continue to arise in public settings. We update previous efforts to quantify the scientific consensus on climate change by searching the recent literature for papers skeptical of anthropogenic-caused global warming. From a dataset of 88,125 climate-related papers published since 2012, when this question was last addressed comprehensively, that's the Cook paper, I think, we examined a randomized subset of 3,000 such publications. We also used a second sample-weighted approach that was specifically biased with keywords to help identify any skeptical peer-reviewed papers in the whole dataset. We identified 4 skeptical papers out of the subset of 3,000 as evidenced by abstracts that were rated as implicitly or explicitly skeptical of human-caused global warming. In our sample utilizing pre-identified skeptical keywords, we found 28 papers that were implicitly or explicitly skeptical. We concluded with high statistical confidence that the scientific consensus on human-caused contemporary climate change, expressed as a proportion of the total publications, exceeds 99% in the peer-reviewed scientific literature.
So how do they say that?
By the way, they're talking again. They're talking about scientific consensus in the peer-reviewed scientific literature. So this is just another example of how when we're talking about scientific consensus, what we're talking about is the publications, right?
No.
Why do both of these papers use that language?
Okay, again, I'm going to read the first sentence of the first abstract I mentioned here, right? We analyze the evolution of the scientific consensus on anthropogenic global warming in peer-reviewed scientific literature.
So the clause on
So what is the consensus
is a parenthetical clause.
So the consensus is
consensuses
what?
Are on something, that's the topic, and they're in something, meaning that's where the consensus is.
Whose consensus?
The consensus of the scientific literature.
No, it's not the consensus.
That's where the consensus is found, yeah. That's the whole point. The consensus is found within the scientific literature, and that is how you evaluate what the scientific consensus is.
I don't think that's not what that is. A scientific consensus is the
because they do the same thing in this paper too. By the way, they evaluate the scientific consensus.
Listen. Scientific consensus can be informed by literature, but scientific consensus, specifically the collective judgment, position, and opinion of the vast majority of active, qualified experts. It is the
so you want a survey, is what you're telling me?
No. The consensus.
Wait, do you want a survey to establish consensus?
No, consensus.
Okay,
is
so
the experts.
So let's go see if we can find a survey. So these papers aren't even talking about consensus in your view.
No,
is that your claim? So you're stupid. So you're stupid. Is that what we're doing?
My claim is that you don't know what consensus means. I'm very worried for you as a scientist. That is your profession. You don't know what scientific consensus means.
Or perhaps you don't.
Scientific consensus means the experts' consensus.
So
it's the experts
typically the personal opinions typically the personal opinions of the scientists align with the consensus as found in the literature. But if you want to find a survey
as found in the literature, the consensus. What is the scientific consensus?
That's how you would establish
what is the scientific consensus? Is it the literature or is it the experts?
The scientific consensus is the mutually agreed upon position amongst the relevant experts. And that can be found in the literature. The relevant experts, of course.
Again, relevant, I would say qualified. Qualified is what...
Well, if they're an expert, they're obviously qualified.
Relevant is a weird word to use. It's not.
No, I mean, like, there are experts who are not relevant. Like, for example...
So scientific consensus is not defined by you having to put out a paper necessarily to be able to be a scientist, right? So if the scientific consensus...
Hold on, I just want to pull something up for you because this might be funny.
If a scientist can read an article and be informed by that article, right? Then they would have their opinion changed by the article, and then they would be part of the consensus. The base of knowledge, right?
Yeah, and then that would inform the consensus. So that agreed upon scientific knowledge can be found in the literature. Right.
The scientific knowledge can be found in the literature, but the consensus is not literature.
The agreed upon scientific knowledge. That's how you can quantify it.
So the knowledge can be in the literature, but the consensus is not the literature.
The agreed upon knowledge can be found in the literature. The things that are agreed upon by studying the literature, you can figure out what's the agreed upon consensus.
Listen.
I don't have to ask. I get it that you're not a scientist, so you probably never read a paper in your life. But like one of the things that you do is like I don't have to get polling data. I don't have to get polling data from say other physicists to figure out what the mainstream view amongst physicists, what the consensus view is, if you will, amongst physicists about XYZ thing. I can just go read the papers and I can go look through.
Consensus.
Scientific consensus is an agreed upon position amongst the relevant experts.
No, it's not. It's the experts. It's the specific. It's the judgment.
Not the personal opinion of these people.
It's not. It is the expert's opinion. Consensus is the expert's opinion.
I mean, look, if you want to use consensus in that way, be my guest.
Opinion.
But then you're just saying. But then why did you bring up a paper that, in your view, is not even evaluating consensus?
No. What I'm saying is that this.
Why did you bring up this paper if it's not even relevant in your view of the definition of consensus?
What I would say is that this paper, which is one of the first papers that was establishing consensus.
No, it's not.
No. Again, I wasn't finished. You're interrupting me. It's not one of the first papers establishing consensus on a meta-analysis.
Look, and I'm not a climate change survey expert, but I'm looking right here. I'm looking right here on a Wikipedia page, and it has surveys going back to the 1970s.
What is the most notorious?
Oh, so now it's most notorious, not the earliest.
Well, I'm just saying we're talking about relevance here.
There's a section on the 1970s where they talk about a survey of 24 experts. There's a survey in the 1980s. There's plenty of surveys in the 1990s. There's plenty of surveys in the 2000s. There's plenty of surveys between 2005 and 2009. Oh, is a meta-analysis what you need? Because a meta-analysis is an analysis of the literature, not a survey. So is a meta-analysis what you need in order to figure out scientific consensus?
No, well, I mean, a meta-analysis is a tool to be able to figure out scientific consensus.
No, it wouldn't help you because that would just be reviewing literature, not actually asking the scientists.
Well,
according to you, you can't figure out what the
I
scientific
agree,
consensus is unless you do a survey.
So so I agree that it would be inappropriate to make.
So then why why are you talking about this meta-analysis, which is irrelevant?
The left adopted this, saying that 97% of climate scientists think
that they got it just from this one paper.
No, I'm saying this was the notorious thing that
notorious amongst two. I've never even heard of this paper.
It is okay. You want to ask ChatGPT right now what's the most notorious climate scientist paper and see if this pops up? Want to do that right now?
The most notorious climate science paper?
Most notorious climate science meta-analysis paper.
Oh, okay, so this is the climate science meta-analysis paper. Sure, yeah, you can Google that. You can punch the ChatGPT. I'd be curious. But again, according to you, meta-analyses are irrelevant. So I don't know why that's useful for us figuring out what the consensus is.
Well, no, because I was just saying that it was relevant and it was being used. It was popular. It was being used.
But
it was being used by the left.
Who was using it?
So I would say it's
can you give me examples of
anti-science.
people who are using it?
So again, well, if it was the most notorious, would have people used it?
Not necessarily. Notorious could also be referred to the amount of people who cited it, for example. And it does seem to be very highly cited, like academically
cited. So if it's cited, then that's notorious. What do you mean?
Well, no,
I just told you.
So you're equivocating on the word notorious. On the one hand, you're saying that it's notorious as in it's highly cited amongst academics. On the other hand, you're saying it's notorious and that left-wing people use this as part of an argument. Those are two different things. Something can be highly cited among scientists and still not be highly used, as an argument amongst. They can both be true, but they are not. They both can be true, but they don't both have to be true.
So I would say both are true in the sense that
okay, well, can you demonstrate that both are true? Because I've talked to plenty of lefty people who are pro climate science. I've never heard anybody bring up this meta-analysis before.
Well, we can go ahead and ask and see how often this is sorted and sourced and see and compare it, right?
Well, it's been cited by scientists like 12,000 times.
Yeah.
It has a ton of citations, but that's different from having left-wing people citing this as their main evidence that there's a climate consensus.
Well, I mean, obviously it's 20.
Have you taken a survey to establish amongst left-wing people that this is indeed the most notorious piece of data?
Dude.
So is there any consensus that this is in fact the most notoriously used climate paper to prove that the scientific consensus is that 99% of climate scientists agree that humans cause climate change? Is there a consensus on that?
No, I wouldn't say there's a consensus on that. It's a difficult thing to prove.
So you don't even have any evidence for this claim, do you?
Again, I mean, evidence. I remember it, and I can probably look it up, and we can see that it's well cited. There's a lot of circumstantial evidence, so that is evidence.
Okay, what's the circumstantial evidence?
Well, it's cited a bunch.
Cited a bunch is not that's not evidence that leftists are using this. What are you talking about? How is that circumstantial evidence for that?
If leftists are using it and it's a popular number, right?
Well, no. If leftists are using it, how are you coming to the conclusion that leftists are using it?
Oh my god, dude! You're it's like talking against a brick wall. Like you're trying to meet. You're like, do you think it would be do you think it'd be easy to prove that?
No, so you shouldn't say it.
No. But I remember seeing it being used.
So your anecdotal experiences are evidence now?
That is it evidence or not?
Is what evidence? Your anecdotes?
Is anecdotal evidence?
Well, okay, sure. It's weak evidence.
Yeah. So you're stupid.
You got me.
Yeah.
You got me because I agreed that your personal experiences are weak evidence that this is such a good claim and it's
you don't know what
it's so well supported.
I think a scientist would know what evidence is. What counts as evidence?
I can assure you I know what counts as evidence.
You said I have no evidence. You said I have no evidence.
Yeah, and then you said that you have this anecdotal stuff, and I'm like, you're right. Anecdotes technically are a kind of evidence, and that they increase your credence. However, in this case, the understanding is that evidence is supposed to evidence is understood in two different ways depending on who you're talking to. Evidence can either A, be the philosophical definition of evidence, which is the kind of thing that increases your credence absent the credence of any other, or absent the increase or decrease in credence in any other view. And there's another notion of evidence that is typically what's meant when people are having conversations, namely that this is a piece of data that significantly increases the likelihood of a thing being true to the detriment or, while negatively influencing the likelihood of alternatives being true. So you can have something that's evidence for more than one thing. You can have something that's evidence but is not significant. So in your case, your evidence is philosophically evidence, but it's not evidence in the colloquial sense. So
I literally just asked ChatGPT, right? What is the most notorious climate change cause science meta-analysis.
I love the use of the word
human...
notorious, by the way.
Should I not use notorious?
I mean, it is a biased word, of course. You understand that notorious has a negative connotation. You could say I'd be curious what it says if you instead ask what is the most popular.
I mean, again, it says it cited Cook in 2013, Cook in 2016.
Wait, so which one is it?
IPCC-AR.
Okay, so which one is it?
No, it was Cook et al. 2013.
Okay, and if you change the word notorious to popular, what do you think that you'd find?
I mean, I don't know, dude. Like, it's like you think, what is the most popular? What is the most?
It'd have to be a separate chat. Of course, you'd have to reset it.
I'm just gonna ask, what is the most cited?
Well, no, we know what the most cited is. I'm asking what's the most popular.
No, well, what's the most popular?
Here, I'll do it on my ChatGPT. I'll do it on my instance of ChatGPT. How about that? Okay, what is the most popular study used to convey, or used to what's the word that you used? Used to demonstrate the anthropogenic climate change consensus. Let's just ask. Maybe it'll agree. We'll see.
Again, the anthropogenic climate change analysis on consensus is not technically what it's doing. It's because we already agreed it's not forming consensus.
So what did you type in?
Right?
What did you type in?
Let me pull up what I typed in. I think I accidentally closed the chat. Let me look at it real quick. Okay, so I mean, my chat was my thing wasn't perfect. But I said notorious climate change cause science meta analysis on humans causing global warming.
Sorry, doesn't seem like it's particularly good English. Can you explain?
Well, no. Okay, so my logic was I wanted notorious, I wanted climate change, I wanted cause, I wanted meta-analysis, and I wanted human causing global warming.
Okay.
Like, so I wanted cause science. I wanted like science about the cause.
So is your claim because let's just grant it for the sake of argument that is the one that's most heavily cited, despite my anecdotal evidence being in contradiction to your anecdotal evidence. Is it the case that because you have one poorly framed mainstream paper, that therefore the conclusions of the paper are false?
I think that the conclusions of the paper do not demonstrate that it is consensus.
That wasn't my question, right?
Well, no, that one. Well,
just
no,
because if the paper, suppose that the paper has shit methodology, right? Does that therefore imply that the conclusion is false?
The conclusion can be false, but if the
can you answer my question?
The conclusion could be true, right? But if the methodology is bad, it's not a very useful truth.
No, then you just go look to see if there's other places that are able to give more effective methodologies that are able to come to that conclusion or come to the opposite conclusion, right?
So you gave an example. How did they get the 3,000 from the 30,000?
How did they get what 3,000 from the 30,000?
You gave me an article.
Oh yeah. It was randomized. It was a randomized subset.
Randomized?
Yeah.
So and of the randomized subset, it was 4 that were spurious.
4 that were that expressed. Okay, so we identify 4 skeptical papers out of the subset of 3,000 as evidenced by abstracts that were rated as implicitly or explicitly skeptical of human-caused global warming. So 4 out of 3,000.
Of the 11,944, or of the greater...
Of the 3,000. No, of the 3,000.
Of what? Of
the 3,000 randomly selected publications.
I know. What was the 3,000 selecting from?
From 88,125 climate-related papers published since 2012.
Well, no, that's not the Cook study.
This isn't the Cook study. You're right. This is a newer study.
No, I thought this article was trying to.
No, this article was not this article was following up on what Cook was doing roughly, because Cook was done in 2012.
Following up on what Cook was doing would be taking a random set of the climate change paper abstracts that got responded by. That would be a follow up on the Cook study.
That got responded by the Cook study. The Cook study didn't ask for responses. What are you talking about?
No, again, not responses, but the number of abstracts.
This isn't an exact copy of the Cook study. They're trying to answer the same question. That's why it's a follow up. I don't get what your confusion is.
A follow up would be confirming that the author...
No, that's not what a follow up is. A follow up can just ask the same question, even if it uses a different methodology.
No, it wouldn't be a follow up.
It absolutely would be a follow up.
It'd be a different thing. It'd be a different thing.
Okay, then you can get mad at them for using the actually, I don't even know if they use the word follow up. They say we update previous efforts. So this is an update of what the Cook study does. And if you can get mad at them for using the word update, but the point is they did an analysis.
Okay, it's I don't care. Just mentioning the Cook study doesn't give it any credence and benefit to Cook.
I'm not making that claim.
Okay, I know, but when you were first, I mean, dude, when you were first demonstrating this, you demonstrated it as they were. I thought when you were saying this that they were actually they were basically confirming that the authors were actually climate scientists.
No, what? I never said that. Well, English is your first language, isn't it?
Have I insulted you like this? With empty stupidity?
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
Okay, well, we'll let the people who are watching the playback determine that.
Cut out the stupidity that you do when you reply.
This isn't your live stream, my guy. This isn't your live stream, my guy. Sorry.
No, I'm just saying, like, let's actually have a conversation.
I've been trying to, but you've been
you put your pithy responses. No, you put your pithy responses, and it pisses me off.
Does it hurt your feelings?
No, that doesn't hurt my feelings. It just pisses me off.
Yeah, that's what it means to hurt your feelings when you're a man.
You're not going to hurt my feelings.
Okay.
Right. I'm not emotionally upset. You're
just pissed off.
To have a conversation. I'm just trying to have a conversation with you, and it's difficult to have a conversation with someone that's just being a dick. So
if you think that you've been respectful this conversation, I don't know what to tell you, man.
I've been more respectful than you. Definitely less. Definitely less sarcastic. Definitely less sarcastic than you.
I have been sarcastic because I'm not explicitly mean, but we'll let the people decide. So everybody who's watching this on YouTube in like 2-ish days, feel free to let me know in the comments if you think that I've been meaner to him than he's been meaner to me, or if you think that I've been more sarcastic or whatever it might be. If I've been mean, let me know in the comments and I will reevaluate.
I don't care about your appeal to consensus.
I'm not appealing to consensus.
You're appealing to the vote of the people that are in your chat.
Literally not appealing to anything. I'm just asking what their opinion is.
Yeah, so if they say that if your audience says that you weren't, what is that going to help? Is that going to help is that going to prove you right?
If my audience tells me that I was more mean to you than you deserved, then I will absolutely take that into consideration.
Dude, you should just look into your soul and see.
I don't think souls exist, buddy.
Well, again, again. See what you just did right there. You couldn't possibly just internalize what someone could be meaning when they say something like that. Look into your mind. Look into your look at.
Oh no, my finger slipped. Oh no. What are the chances of that? Bummer. Such a shame. All right, let's read some super chats. Scroll up. We have to scroll up quite a bit. Thank you guys for being so generous, by the way. From Christopher Sanford with the £5, please ask this guy if Trump wasn't elected president because although he had a majority of the vote, not everyone voted, so we don't know if he won. That would have been so good. I wish I'd seen that. That would have been so funny. I think that he would have responded. He's like, well, that's not how our electoral system works, but it would have been funny anyway. From Jack Fetter with the $2, why can't MAGA STFU and not interrupt? To be fair, I was interrupting him a lot, but he was saying a lot of dumb things, and that is my fault. I do have a personal failing that I tend to interrupt people when they say dumb things. That's something that, I need to work on. From Christopher Sanford, I already answered that one. From Ragnarok with the 50 Mexican pesos, caller might be onto something. The obvious solution is to make responding surveys mandatory. There you go. By the way, there have been surveys that have been sent out to climate scientists, and I think that this is one of the ones that he referred to. I'll show you guys the thing that I'm referring to right now. It's from 2021. Consensus revisited, quantifying scientific agreement on climate change and climate expertise among Earth scientists 10 years later. So here they sent out a survey to 10,929 to participate in a survey. This is a verified email list of geosciences faculty at reporting academic and research institutions, and they got 2,780 responses. They found that as well as a binary approach classifying someone as expert or non-expert, we also looked at expertise scale. We find that agreement on anthropogenic global warming is high, 91% to 100%, so they're including their error bars, and generally increases with expertise. So I imagine, and we could look into this deeper, but the call is over. The point of expertise is that you might want to, graduate students can be climate scientists, but they don't have the expertise of a full professor, right? Out of a group of 153 independently confirmed climate experts, 98.7% of those scientists indicated that the Earth is getting warmer mostly because of human activity such as burning fossil fuels. Among those with the highest level of expertise, independently confirmed climate experts who each published 20+ peer-reviewed papers on climate change between 2015 and 2019, there was 100% agreement that the Earth is warming mostly because of human activity. So, I mean, it is just the case. It is just the case that, like, even if you go look at like survey results, it's just the case that, like, obviously most climate experts are going to be in favor of the position, not in favor of, but they believe that humans are mostly causing the climate change. Anyway, from Jack Fetter, poll, MAGA dude is a douche. 1 equals yes, 2 equals no. He doesn't like polls because most people won't vote. From Clems with the 10 Canuck bucks, very generous, thank you so much. I don't know if this is a good example, but if the caller really studied it, he would have some memory of it. Like, I remember D equals ST when I learned it in elementary school. It wouldn't disappear. Yeah, that's my point, right? Like, you learn, like, if you remembered something, you would have some memory of it, unless you just weren't paying attention, in which case you may as well have not learned it. From Rivka Fix with the $5, statistics is politically inconvenient to this guy. He started the call on the verge of crashing out. He definitely did. He definitely started the call on the verge of crashing out. From Reverend Nate with the 2 Canuck bucks, dude screaming, "Get a grip!" is self-reporting. Yeah, he was. It was kind of crazy. But we keep him on for the, maybe we can get through to some people and we could do some education about statistics along the way. From Aleph with the 5, I don't know what that currency is. That's not reals, is it? Brazilian, oh, they are, they're Brazilian reais. Okay, so I was right. Thank you so much for the $5, by the way. Crashed out under 0 pressure. He did. He came in crashed out. From Joe White with the $5, the consensus is worried for you, Blitz. They are. You guys are. I'm sure you guys are. From Tim Bimbadil with the $5, Charlie Day here doesn't know what scientific consensus is, even with a PhD scientist telling him. It is funny. If you guys haven't seen the Charlie Day bit from... Is Charlie Day Curb Your Enthusiasm? Always Sunny in Philadelphia. There's a bit where he talks about how science is wrong sometimes, and therefore you should not believe in evolution. It's a very funny bit. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. From Chase Martin Physics with the $5, he is unironically taking the position that climate scientists disagree with their work. Right. That's the crazy thing. Or he's taking the position that the vast majority of papers, if I'm being charitable, maybe he's taking the position that the vast majority of papers are written by a substantially fewer percentage of the population than the general consensus, or than the general population of climate scientists. And so it will be skewed towards the pro position, even if the population isn't skewed that way. From Binary Ghost with the $5, scientific consensus is all bunk. The sources I trust are what comes to me in my dreams and my gut feelings. Consensus in literature is for Redditors. True. It's very true. Well, it was Mac, but the character is Charlie Day, right? Or the actor is Charlie Day. From Jack Fetter with the $5 super chat. Thank you so much. It's not? No? Okay. Am I just getting confused here? Who was the actor? Wait a minute. Charlie plays Charlie. All right, I'm clearly like confused about. Isn't the one that's like science is wrong sometimes? Isn't that Charlie Day? Okay. Anyway, Jack Fetter says, I just did an informal survey of myself, my cat, and the UPS guy. We're all in agreement this guy is a tool. My cat leaned more towards asshole, to be honest. Implicit bias or implicit endorsement or explicit endorsement. From Reverend Nate with the 2 Canuck bucks, Mr. Dr. Blitz remains undefeated versus ChatGPT callers. Yeah, I don't like that he caught me in, that he got me, you know, involved in the, oh, well, what does my ChatGPT says? But like, the point is that it seems like he hasn't done any of his any actual reading that much. It seems like he's more interested in just something that confirms his bias. And unfortunately, ChatGPT is extraordinarily good at doing confirmation bias. From Opto Poppet with the $5, as a software dev, this person's inability to think brings shame on the profession. I mean, like, it seems like he actually went to school for software development, but I wouldn't be surprised if he does mostly vibe coding now, which I get it. Vibe coding is definitely a way to make your job easier. I've definitely done it. From Christopher Sanford with the 2 pounds, stop, he's already dead, let's just play him now. Yeah, I do. From Christopher Sanford with the £2, can we add argumentum add LLM to the fallacy list? Absolutely. From David Action Figure with the $5, do you have any evidence at all? We have lots of conjecture and hearsay. Those are kinds of evidence. That's exactly what he was doing. Like, when somebody says that an anecdote is an evidence, what they mean is that an anecdote is a very weak piece of data that should not sway your credence in a position particularly strongly. That's what they mean. That's what most people mean when they say that an anecdote is an evidence. But philosophically speaking, an anecdote is absolutely evidence in that it will change your credences of some positions. From Papa Butters with the $2, don't do coke and GPT, kids. I don't know if he did coke. I don't want to assume that about him. From Agents Miskatonics with the $10, you need to be meaner to him. I don't know. He seems like a young guy. Maybe he doesn't need to be. Maybe he doesn't need such meanness. Actually, no. He's a software developer who went to college 10 years ago, so he's definitely not a young guy. From Binary Ghost with the $2, you're a mean one, Dr. Blitz. From Infinitely Explosive with the $5, it's kind of sad how his worldview clearly doesn't actually care about evidence being correct, just feeling correct. Yeah, the thing is the amount of skepticism that he offers to those kinds of things are probably I should speak English properly. The amount of skepticism that he has for those meta-analyses or those surveys or whatever is far higher than the amount of skepticism that he would offer for something that confirmed his position. From Robert Stevens with the $2, thank you so much, bud. And from Matt Lloyd with the £5, look into your soul, Dr. Blitz. Think of the children. I don't have children, nor do I have a soul. It wasn't cynicism. It's cynicism masquerading as fake skepticism, which is generally pretty common amongst science deniers in that they find something that disagrees with their cognitive bias, and then they basically try to find any flaw that they can find in something that disagrees with them so that they can discount it and say, I've done my research, this is disproven, right? So it's just rough for science deniers. And now Nate is in the chat saying, you ran away. No, Nate, I end the live streams at noon. And you were on for an hour. So that's why you got kicked off. Because it's time to end the live stream. Also, it probably wasn't worth the conversation because we weren't really making particularly much progress with you. So, y'all, I am going to end the live stream here. If you want to support me, there's ways to do so. It's $5 across the board, $5 per month. If you want to become a member, get access to my debate notes, which has a lot of this stuff in it that I went over today. It has you also get access to emojis, a special private chat room in the Discord server. You also get access to getting your questions guaranteed answered during Ask a Physicist days in the second half of those days. So make sure to stick around, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for some more